To inquire, to seek clarity, is essential for us to understand how to proceed once we venture forth. We should not linger in vain, gazing at one another while he remains entirely unresponsive. The weighty responsibility was entrusted to Shun Luan by the Jin family, and Shun Luan felt the immense pressure bearing down upon her. However, before attending the banquet, she needed to clarify matters. Thus, the experienced Shun Luan retrieved a net she had previously crafted, steeling herself with resolve, and made her way to Shun Wenxiao's courtyard. Since his promotion, Shun Wenxiao had become increasingly occupied. Upon returning home from the Hanlin Academy, he often sequestered himself in his study. Nervously, Shun Luan requested to be announced, murmuring softly at the door. If her brother was indeed too busy, there was little she could do, was there? She had made the effort to come. Surely their mother would not hold it against her third miss. The young master requests your presence inside. Shun Luan looked up, a hint of regret flashing in her eyes. Will I be disturbing my brother? It's not a matter of great importance, the young servant chuckled. Miss, do go in. The young master spends his days in the company of books. Your arrival will afford him a respite. Very well. With a slight pursing of her lips, Shun Luan stepped inside. Shun Wenxiao's courtyard was quite spacious, having been arranged according to his preferences, with some flowers and plants removed and stones casually piled in a corner. Simple, yet exquisite. There were no superfluous decorations in the courtyard. It exuded an elegant tranquility, perfectly suiting Shun Wenxiao's disposition. After knocking, she heard his voice from within and pushed the door open. The fragrance of books filled the room, and a couplet written by Shun Wenxiao himself had been relocated, its slightly immature strokes evoking a sense of nostalgia for unforgotten beginnings. The writing desk remained by the window, propped open, with Shun Wenxiao seated behind it, leaning back in his chair, his face displaying signs of fatigue as he pinched the bridge of his nose to relax. Brother, you're not going out today on your day off? Chapter 134. Delivering the net. Shun Luan was taken aback by the densely written characters before him, as if he had not left the desk all day. Those social engagements are unnecessary. Did I not mention that you need not come to check my writing anymore? Your handwriting is quite legible now. Just legible. You say. Shun Wenxiao caught the subtle pout of her lips, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Yes, merely legible. Shun Luan. Taking the initiative, she pulled a chair over and sat down beside Shun Wenxiao, eagerly producing the net she had brought. I noticed your previous net was worn, so I made you a new one. Now that you have gained some recognition in Yinxing, many eyes will be upon you. Please take a look and see if you like it. If it suits you, I can craft a few more to replace the old ones. The net was exquisitely crafted, with a tasteful color palette. After examining it for a moment, Shun Wenxiao lifted his head. So? Shun Luan's heart skipped a beat, her expression innocent. What do you mean, so? Did you come merely to deliver the net? Then what else could there be? Shun Wenxiao narrowed his eyes slightly. I see. I have given you the opportunity, should you wish to say more later, brother. Shun Luan panicked, hastily tugging at his sleeve. Well, there's just a tiny matter. Shun Wenxiao chuckled softly, not pulling away from her grasp, amusement dancing in his eyes. I was wondering why you would come to deliver a net so suddenly. Well, it's not that it was meant for you from the start. I simply hadn't delivered it earlier due to your busyness. Shun Luan puffed out her cheeks, her eyes brightening. Perhaps today Shun Wenxiao seemed particularly amiable, prompting her to lean closer and lower her voice. Brother, it's actually Mother who sent me to ask. You mustn't be angry. Her round eyes sparkled with a hint of mischief, which stirred an impulse in Shun Wenxiao to ruffle her hair. Go on then. Not receiving a promise, Shun Luan felt a twinge of disappointment before diving straight to the point. It's not a monumental affair, it's just that, given your recent success in the imperial examinations, your rising status at the Hanlin Academy, the Emperor's personal commendation, and your remarkable appearance, that you feel that something is missing? Shun Wenxiao gazed at her quietly, taking a moment before responding. It seems that indeed, something is lacking. Right. Shun Luan raised her voice. So, Mother's intention is that if I still lack a sister of remarkable reputation, When might you fulfill that role for me? Shen Luan nearly choked on her own breath. Her smile froze instantly at his words. I'm not asking you to achieve scholarly fame. Simply read the necessary texts and articulate your thoughts. Surely that is within your capabilities? I perused the poem you composed at that poetry banquet. It was well underwhelming. That's not true. Everyone praised my work. That was merely courtesy. Shen Luan felt utterly defeated. Was he exempt from such niceties? Had she been picked up off the street? Pouting slightly, she found herself unable to retort. After all, he was the newly minted top scholar, and it would be inappropriate to question his taste. Shun Wenxiao, who had been sifting through texts, felt a peculiar uplift in his spirits for reasons unknown.
Fortunately, after the ninth prince intervened, the situation improved slightly, no longer dominated by the third prince's singular authority. It is well known that the emperor dotes on the ninth prince, and his words are indeed heeded by many. Thus the circumstances surrounding the investigation gradually became clearer. This, however, displeased Yuanshan greatly. What connection does the Shun family have with him? Is he deliberately opposing me? Chao Jin, with a tone of earnest counsel, urged, Your Highness. The ninth prince has merely begun. You ought to take precautions early on. You must now place your trust in me. The ninth prince's apparent naivety is but an act to prevent you from arming yourself against him. Yuanshan paced back and forth in the room, realizing his oversight. He had underestimated the ninth prince, mistaking him for a simpleton who merely pouted to the emperor. Little did he expect that the ninth prince could stealthily place his people among his ranks. He should reflect on his own worth. Does he truly believe he can contend with me? Chao Jin nodded inwardly. Indeed, he not only can, but the ninth prince can also render the third prince powerless, forcing him to resort to underhanded tactics against those close to the ninth prince. The mere thought of this made Chao Jin's gums itch with discomfort. If the third prince had not felt cornered, he would not have targeted Shen Luan. Although he indeed wished to ascend by leveraging the third prince, had Shen Luan not been mentioned, Chao Jin might have hesitated to act. Your Highness, what are your intentions regarding the Shen family? Chao Jin subtly inquired. Even with the ninth prince's interference, Shen Wenxiao may not withstand the pressure. Yet the Shen family has established itself in Yin City for many years and still holds some value. Yuanshan scoffed coldly. The Shen family? Aside from Shen Wenxiao, I find no other of merit. However, since he refuses to serve my purposes, his removal would not be a loss. The entire Shen family is utterly ungrateful. Do they truly believe they can outmaneuver me? Yuanshan's eyes narrowed dangerously. Once the dust settles, I shall grant the Shen family a favor. When the time comes, bereft of Shen Wenxiao, how will they continue to thrive in Yin City? I will become their sole pillar of support. Your Highness's meaning is that you intend to marry a daughter of the Shen family? That would be her fortune. I can overlook past grievances. But should she remain ungrateful? Chao Jin quickly smiled. How could that be? Who does not know that the second Miss Shun harbors affections for your Highness? If you were to marry her, she would undoubtedly be overjoyed. Yuanshan shot him a glance. The second Miss Shun? Why would I wish to marry her? She is nothing but a mere jester, and my intention is to wed the third Miss Shun, Shen Luan. Chao Jin's heart sank. A flicker of panic crossing his features. Shen Luan? How could the third prince possibly have feelings for Shen Luan? As Yuanshan mentioned her, he seemed lost in thought, eyes half closed in reminiscence. She is indeed a rare beauty. Exquisite in appearance, with a character unlike any other, surpassing those in my household. I wonder what pleasures she might bring. Chao Jin felt a vain throb at his temple, barely containing his emotions. Shen Luan is his fiancée. How dare the third prince covet his woman? Struggling to suppress his rising anger, Chao Jin spoke gently. Your Highness, you have not concealed your intentions towards Shen Wenxiao. The third Miss Shin may not be willing to comply. She has no choice in the matter. Yuanshan appeared to feel assured of his victory. What does a woman require in terms of willingness? Shen Wenxiao is sufficient to teach her a lesson. Should she wish to witness the Shin family vanish from Yin City one by one, I would have no qualms. Tio Yuanshan, women have never been of significant importance. They are mere distractions to alleviate boredom or bargaining chips in the realm of power. He understands this well now. It is merely a matter of how long Shen Wenxiao can endure. I hope he lasts long enough to make things interesting. When Chao Jin departed from Yuanshan, his face was contorted with fury. Why? What kind of woman has he not encountered? Why does he fixate on Shen Luan? Chao Jin's mind was in turmoil. What should he do? Should he personally deliver Shun Luan into the hands of the third prince? No. Shun Luan is his. Even the third prince cannot take her away. Chao Jin's eyes darkened. He could attain power and status by his own merit, but once Shun Luan is in the third prince's grasp, she could never again be his. This cannot be allowed. He will not permit it. The case of Shan Wanxiao has captured the attention of Yin City. Days stretched painfully, yet not without some gains. Initially, Yuanshan thought it would be easy to manipulate Shin Wanxiao. All he needed to do was wait patiently to achieve his aims effortlessly. However, his irritation began to mount. How could another informant emerge? Did you not claim that Shin Wanxiao was a recluse, disinterested in collaboration? Chao Jin sighed. Your Highness, as you have seen, it was indeed as I described, smooth sailing. Even if there were this informant, they would not be easily found. But who could have predicted such a coincidence that they would commit an offense outside, only to be linked to this case and fall right into the hands of the ninth prince? His face was a mask of worry. This was far too coincidental, and there was little he could do. Then you are the incompetent one, and you dare speak of certainty? Is this what you call foolproof? Yuanshan was in a foul mood. The situation with Shan Wanxiao was far from his calculations. The emperor had promised to hand this matter over to him, yet inexplicably, he seemed to have changed his mind. It appeared that Consort Zhan had come across a piece of calligraphy she admired, only to discover it was crafted by Shan Wanxiao. Consort Zhan, valuing talent, had the emperor placate her by transferring the case to Yunling. It seems my plan to starve Shan Wanxiao in prison may not come to fruition. A few days prior, someone had visited to check on him, and it was reported that Shan Wanxiao was being treated relatively well, even able to read and write while imprisoned. What manner of imprisonment is this? Chao Jian felt particularly helpless. Your Highness, it was indeed meant to be foolproof, but Consort Zhan was an unforeseen circumstance. You are aware of the emperor's favoritism towards her. It has persisted for years, and one can only say Shin Wanxiao is fortunate. Does Yuanshan not know this? He simply cannot swallow this humiliation. Consort Zhan typically maintains a low profile, content to tend to flowers and plants. Yet she happened to take notice of Shan Wanxiao's calligraphy? Fate has played a cruel trick. What should have been a sure thing has encountered such an unexpected twist. He could hardly blame Chao Jin. He was merely venting his frustrations. Chao Jin consoled him. Regardless, Shin Wanxiao has spent several months in prison. He has certainly suffered to some extent, and he will think twice before opposing you again. Despite the reassurances, Yuanshan still felt regret for not having utterly crushed the Shin family, delaying his goal of claiming Shin Luan as his own. Chao Jin sighed with relief when Yuanshan was not paying attention. The ninth prince is indeed capable. With just a hint, he could locate the key individuals. Shan Wanxiao has narrowly escaped a calamity, and for now, Shun Luan is safe. However, the third prince's intentions remain unquenched. He knows the third prince too well. Unless he relinquishes his desires, he will never give up on Shin Luan at the first opportunity. Thus, he must either change the third prince's mind or marry Shin Luan before the third prince can. Relying on the third prince to ascend and then seeking to marry Shan Luan appears unfeasible. He must approach it from Shan Luan herself. First, he must ensure his own household is cleared. Shan Wanxiao has returned. The entire Shin family breathed a sigh of relief, as if it were a festival. Seeing Shan Wanxiao, who had lost weight, Shan Luan felt an ache in her heart. Yet, there was not entirely nothing to commend. His calligraphy had improved, and his hard work had not been in vain. Shan Luan pouted internally. Fine, she would still give him some praise. Suddenly, she raised her head, but those poems were taken by Miss Feng. Right? How did you see them, brother? Shan Wanxiao rapped the table. What were you trying to say earlier? Shan Luan's attention was drawn back. Oh right, brother. Don't change the subject. Mother sent me to ask what kind of girl you like. She intends to help you find one. She said you need not be shy. She will surely find someone to your liking. Shan Wanxiao's brows furrowed gradually. Not necessary for now. Why is it not necessary? Look at your peers in Yin City. Some of them already have children. Shan Luan raised her brows teasingly. Come on, brother. Just tell me quietly, and I guarantee to find you a particularly good sister-in-law. Suddenly, Shan Wanxiao reached out, placing his hand level with her forehead. Shan Luan stared at him, puzzled, her eyes blinking twice before a sharp pain shot through her forehead. Ouch! Shan Wanxiao retracted his hand. I will accept the warning. If you are truly so idle, go and copy the notes I gave you last time and bring them back. Shen Luan covered her forehead, staring at him in disbelief. How can I be idle? I'm trying to have a serious conversation. Enough. Remember to close the door when you leave. Shen Wenshao put away the warning and lowered his head, redirecting his focus to the documents in his hands. Shen Luan, feeling frustrated yet unwilling to disturb him, simmered quietly beside him until her anger dissipated. She tiptoed out, gently closing the door behind her. Forget him. It is he who must marry. It is not my concern. Why should I be anxious when he is not? Zian tugged at Shen Luan's sleeve. Miss, elegant? Elegant my foot. He just flicked my forehead. At that moment, Shen Luan felt a lingering ache on her forehead. Look, is it bruised? Her fair forehead flushed slightly, while Zian stifled a laugh as she gently massaged it, inquiring, My lady, do you engage in casual conversations, or do you take notes? Shen Luan was momentarily taken aback. Feeling a wave of tears welling up, she had almost forgotten about that. Upon returning to seek out Madame Jean, Shen Luan recounted the events, causing Madame Jean to pat her chest in relief. Thank goodness I didn't go. You've worked hard. I'll buy you some bird's nest and shark fin to nourish you. As for casual conversations, do put in more effort. Shen Luan felt utterly wronged. By the time she had copied nearly everything. It was time for the invitation from the lady of the Du family. Accompanied by Madame Jean, Shen Luan attended, although Wenshao had said there was no rush and that they could take their time to observe. Madame Jean's insights into managing a shop emphasized the importance of identifying a target promptly, allowing for swift action when necessary, ensuring a profit. Shen Luan felt a sense of ennui, deciding to relinquish her concerns. The banquet hosted by the lady of the Du family was as grand as ever. After greeting some elders, Shen Luan sought out her peers to converse. Sister Shan San. Immediately, someone approached her, greeting her warmly with effusive praise. Shen Luan was no stranger to such flattery and quickly blended in with the group. Have you heard? It seems a prince will be attending today, invited by the lady of the Du family, who has set up a banquet nearby for the distinguished individuals of Yin City. Is that true? Of course. The lady of the Du family holds a significant status. Even the prince must honor her father. It's just uncertain whether we will have the chance to meet him. Upon learning that the third prince would also be present, one girl asked, Sister Shinsan, have you met the third prince? Is he truly as extraordinary as the rumors suggest? Shen Luan was singled out but felt no joy. She had no desire to extol the virtues of the third prince. I have seen him, but I did not pay close attention. It has been quite some time, and some details are a bit hazy. What a pity, however. I just saw Miss Chenair, and she remembers quite clearly, even recalling the color of the accessories worn by His Highness that day. Shen Luan chuckled, acknowledging that her second sister indeed had a better memory than she did. Has Shen Ling come as well? Shen Luan paid little mind. It was not surprising who attended such gatherings. With the families now separated, Shen Ling was no longer bound by their grandmother's words to delay in matters of courtship. Moreover, Shen Ling seemed particularly interested in the third prince. The banquet featured various intriguing amusements. And after trying a couple, Shen Luan grew fatigued and moved to a nearby seat to rest. The refreshments at the Du family banquet were exceedingly delectable, and Shen Luan found solace in her quietude. Suddenly, a young maid, flustered, knelt before her, exclaiming, I'm so sorry. It was my fault that I stained your dress. Shen Luan glanced down to see that some water had splashed onto her skirt, though it was hardly noticeable. No harm done, please rise. She casually brushed it off and instructed Zian to fetch a change of clothes. The maid, trembling with fear, offered to guide her to the back to change, expressing gratitude for Shen Luan's forgiveness. It's nothing, just be more careful next time, and try not to scald yourself or others. Once Zian returned with the garments, Shen Luan followed the maid to change. Upon emerging from the room, the maid had vanished. Let us return, Shen Luan said. After taking a few steps, she noticed someone approaching from ahead. Upon recognizing him, she immediately bowed. Your Highness, the third prince. Miss Shin-san, what a delightful coincidence to meet you here. Shen Luan's mind raced with thoughts she could not articulate, maintaining a dignified smile as she replied. I wouldn't want to intrude upon your grace. Your Highness, I shall take my leave. There's no rush. Since we encountered one another, I happen to have something I wish to discuss with Miss Shan-san. Might I have the honor of your company? Were she able to decline, she would. Yet at this moment, Shen Luan could only respond with a polite smile. There's a small garden just over there, filled with potted plants for one's admiration. Yuanshan seated himself on a stone bench in a corner of the garden, and immediately a servant brought steaming tea, then retreated to a distance. Please, take a seat. Shen Luan sat opposite him, her demeanor consistently calm and composed, which left Yuanshan somewhat impressed. Indeed, one's upbringing reflects in their offspring. It was no wonder the emperor constantly praised Shen Yuanxiu. Through his children, one could glean a hint of his character. Comparing Shen Ling, whom he had just met, with Shen Luan felt almost like an affront to Shen Luan's grace. Ive heard that the third branch of the Shen family now lives independently. With the early demise of Shan Sanyi, you and your mother are left without support. If there is anything you require, I would be more than willing to assist. Chapter 135. How intriguing! Yuanshan took a sip of tea and remarked, from an outsider's perspective, the Shen family seems to owe you. While I may not be able to do much, I can at least help you vent your frustrations. Shen Luan was taken aback. Had the third prince taken leave of his senses? What grievance was he referring to? Your Highness, a division of the family is a rather commonplace occurrence. Something every ordinary family experiences. The Shen family is not unique, and we harbor no resentment. Miss Shen-san, you possess an admirable temperament. The emperor is already aware of the Shen family's circumstances, though he has said nothing. It is evident he disapproves of how things have transpired. Thus, you need not hold back in whatever you wish to do. Truly unnecessary? Indeed, it is. Shen Luan smiled faintly, her expression deliberately mirroring Shen Wenxiao's demeanor, light and breezy yet tinged with a hint of pride. Any path can be traversed. Rather than wasting time harboring grievances, it is far more beneficial to focus on the future. Yuanshan tightened his grip on the cup, as if just realizing that this Miss Shan-san was remarkably extraordinary. Not merely a pawn to ensnare Shan Wenxiao, but a truly exceptional individual in her own right. Her radiant beauty rivaled that of any beauty he had ever encountered, her speech soft and gentle, her demeanor neither servile nor arrogant. He had seen her smile brilliantly with those close to her, a sight so dazzling that it was impossible to look away. Such a woman, destined to be a beauty, would be worthy of being his consort, not to mention her brother, Shen Wenxiao, and her father, Shen Yuanxiu. Yuanshan's expression softened, remarking, Miss Shen-san, your magnanimity is admirable. I have met many young women, yet few can compare to you. Shen Sanyi must find solace in the afterlife knowing he has such a daughter. Shen Luan smiled modestly, her mind swirling with thoughts. Is he praising me? And does he sound so sincere? Has he truly lost his senses? A gentle smile graced Yuanshan's handsome face, sending a shiver down Shen Luan's spine. Miss Shen-san, possessing both beauty and talent, one cannot help but be drawn to you. I wonder if I have the honor. Before he could finish, a figure bounded over. Third brother, where have you been? I've been searching for you. Shen Luan's hand tightened in her sleeve upon recognizing it was the ninth prince. Her heart, which had risen to her throat, finally relaxed. Thank the heavens, the ninth prince's timely arrival had saved her from a near fright. Ninth prince. Yuanshan glanced at her casually. Miss Shan is here as well. After that, his gaze returned to Yuanshan. Third brother, everyone is waiting for you to finish the second half of your poem. Who knew you would vanish in the blink of an eye? They asked me to find you quickly. Don T, keep them waiting. Yuanshan had no choice but to swallow his words, slowly rising. Then, Miss Shen-san, we shall continue our conversation another time. Shen Luan merely wished for him to leave swiftly, hastily performing her curtsy without uttering a word. Who desired to continue speaking with him? Yuanshan was pulled away by Yuanshan, and Shen Luan returned to her seat, releasing her grip, her palms damp with perspiration. What was the third prince's ailment? Did he harbor feelings for her? What kind of feelings? What trickery did he intend to employ? Shen Luan felt a surge of panic. She could not believe that the third prince could take an interest in her. In his eyes, she was likely nothing more than a means to curry favor with her brother. Chao Jin's disposition would never allow her to divulge everything, and with Qin Gu currently pacifying the chaos outside, the ninth prince appeared utterly naive. Chao Jin's unsupported claims would not be believed. The ninth prince's timely appearance was nothing short of fortuitous, and the young lady felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Yuan Ling erupted into a fit of laughter, her face radiating innocence and naivety, blissfully unaware of the world's complexities. All right, I shall not tease you any further. Next time, should Miss Shan-san encounter my elder brother, do remember to keep your distance. Otherwise, the side consort in his residence might take offense. Yuan Ling seemed to be sharing a little secret, her voice lowered conspiratorially, eliciting a stifled giggle from Shen Luan. Very well, I shall keep that in mind. She smiled gently, her eyes curving with delight, finding the ninth prince even more endearing and appealing than she had anticipated. Yet Yuan Ling appeared momentarily dazed. Her eyes frozen in place for a long while before she finally stood to take her leave. Your Highness, the ninth prince. Yuan Ling halted and turned to look at her. Shen Luan pondered briefly. I have heard that you will also be attending the royal hunt. Indeed, many will be present. Then I wish you a splendid performance, Your Highness. The hunting grounds are rife with insects. I possess a charm to ward off pests. Would Your Highness care to accept it? Yuan Ling's eyes sparkled with interest, and without a moment's hesitation, she approached to take it, thanking her with a wave of her hand before disappearing from the garden. That charm had been specially crafted by Shen Luan's acquaintance, boasting exceptional pest-repelling properties. Although she could not recall the specifics of the royal hunt, she managed to piece together fragments of conversation. Qin Shu had seemingly mentioned venomous insects. It was better than nothing, she mused. Shen Luan hastily departed, anxious that the third prince might whimsically return. In a secluded corner, watching Shen Luan's retreating figure, Yuan Ling's youthful countenance belied a depth of thought not typical for his age. It is too similar. I thought I was merely conjecturing, but if it truly is, a smile gradually formed at the corner of Yuan Ling's mouth, then it shall be quite intriguing. The Jin family reaped considerable rewards at the banquet, incessantly chatting with Shen Luan on their way back. Once I paid attention, I realized how challenging it is to find a suitable match. She recounted various examples to Shen Luan, detailing family backgrounds, manners, and personal traits. After much analysis, it turned out she found none appealing. Shen Luan could hardly contain her laughter. With such criteria, your brother is in no rush. You may take your time in choosing. Choose what? If Wen Xiao truly has someone he favors, none of this matters. His happiness is paramount. The difficulty lies in the fact that he does not, hence my uncertainty. Jean sighed, displaying a mixture of helplessness and resignation. By the way, did you see Shenling today? I did not, but I heard she was present. We simply did not cross paths. Better that way, Jane sighed again. I wonder what Lu is thinking, allowing Shenling to attend a male gathering. I later heard it was the third prince who escorted her back. The Du family matron must have turned green with envy. Shen Luan was not particularly surprised, as such behavior was typical for Shenling. She and Shen Yu were essentially cut from the same cloth, differing only in the fact that Shenling eschewed some of Shen Yu's more unscrupulous tactics. However, their ultimate goal remained the same, to be the most sought-after daughter of the Shen family. The matron of the Du family declared that she would not invite them again, adding that it was fortunate they had separated, as Shenling's actions would not implicate Shen Luan. Jean was filled with trepidation. Without the old matriarch's restraint, things had spiraled out of control. Perhaps they were reveling in their newfound freedom. Unbeknownst to her, Lu and Shenling were quite satisfied with their success that day. Mother saw it. The third prince personally escorted me home. Was he not as I described, elegant and dignified? The more Shenling thought about it, the more exhilarated she became, imagining all eyes upon her. Standing beside the third prince, basking in the addictive thrill of attention, Lu also smiled. Indeed, you are like a perfect match, but tell me, what does the third prince truly think of you? Mother, Shenling shyly swayed. How am I to respond? The third prince is exceedingly considerate towards me and has spoken to me at length. That suffices. Lu clapped her hands enthusiastically. What does it matter if our family lacks male heirs? Once you marry the third prince, just watch. The first and third branches will be eager to curry favor with us. It is truly gratifying that I have raised you so well. Shenling smiled silently. The separation had been for the best. Otherwise, the matriarch would have never allowed them to present themselves publicly. The matriarch was indeed aging. At her age, if they waited much longer, all the fine young men would have already been taken. Who would she marry? Shen Luan would heed the matriarch's wishes, but she was indifferent. By the time regrets set in, who knew if the matriarch would still be around? She would be left with no one to cry to. Though Zhang remained confined to her home, she was not entirely ignorant of the happenings outside. The events concerning Shenling reached her ears the following day. Has she lost her mind? Do the daughters of the Shen family lack all sense of decorum? How utterly laughable. Do not be upset, my lady. If you become agitated, Miss San will worry. The old maid spoke soothingly. You know the second lady and second Mrs. Nature's. Even before the separation, they would likely behave this way. Zhang's face darkened. Do they think I would intentionally obstruct Xinling's marriage? The matter concerning you has not yet settled. Now, when people mention the Xin family's daughters, they inevitably invite speculation. Once when Xiao and Jian achieve some standing in Yin City, who would dare to seek them out? She closed her eyes in despair. I had hoped they would understand that a young lady must possess self-respect and self-love to command respect, yet it seems they can only see what is immediately before them. Chapter 136. The Heartfelt Cake. My lady, Miss San, is truly commendable. Whenever the name of Miss San is mentioned, it is always accompanied by praise. You need not worry, for there will always be those who understand your concerns. Upon mentioning Shen Luan, Zhang felt a slight sense of relief. She is excellent in every regard, save for her fervent interest in business, which I fear might lead to gossip once she marries. Oh, my lady, if that were to be the case, you would not wish for Miss San to marry into such a family, would you? I think she is quite admirable. She is always cheerful and capable. You need not fret. Meanwhile, Shen Luan, the object of Zhang's concern, remained wholly focused on her pursuit of wealth. Her financial acumen had become a topic of admiration throughout Yin City. Miss San is truly capable, surpassing many men. Look, it seems she has purchased an estate. How does she manage it all? What is so remarkable about that? A young lady should focus on raising a family. Immersing herself in wealth only sullies her reputation. The Xin family is renowned for its scholarly lineage. What do you know? Why not try your hand at earning money? Jealous, are we? How many in Yin City would dare to look down upon her? Indeed, would you not wish to marry such a woman? Shen Luan's fortunes had more than doubled compared to her previous life. Even if she did nothing, she could live lavishly for the rest of her days. Chao Jian felt a pang of anxiety, eager to bring Shen Luan into his household that very day. Shen Yu, noticing his demeanor, laughed coldly. My third sister has become increasingly capable. It would not be surprising if a royal family took interest in her. Why do you seem so anxious? Chao Jin turned to her, his eyes filled with a disturbing intensity she could not comprehend. She can only marry me. It was the same in my past life. Shen Yu regarded him as though he had lost his mind. Then why not devise a plan? With my third sister's abilities, marrying into the Chao family would elevate our status. I am weary of this life of hardship. The Chao family was not particularly affluent. Chao Jin hailed from humble beginnings and had made extraordinary strides to reach his current position. Although he worked at the Hanlin Academy, his salary was modest. Shen Yu, as a daughter of the Shen family, had enjoyed years of comfort and privilege under Lu's protection, despite her strict upbringing. What was their current state? They could scarcely retain a servant, and with the Chao matriarch watching closely, Shen Yu felt increasingly constrained and frustrated. There is no rush. Chao Jin's expression darkened. Soon, the third prince will validate my claims. By then, he will gradually come to trust me. Qin Gu will not return for over a year. During this time, I have ample opportunity to act. With the Shen family divided, the third branch lacks a strong support. Once the third prince fully trusts me, acquiring Shen Luan will not pose a challenge. Shen Yu rolled her eyes. No urgency? Shen Luan is no longer easily deceived. Once she becomes wiser, do you genuinely believe you possess the qualifications to win her over? Chao Jin cast her a sidelong glance. Concubine? I have never considered her as such. She is my rightful wife, just as she was in my past life, and so she shall be in this one. But there are things Shen Yu need not know. For I still have use for her. The much-anticipated royal hunt commenced with great fanfare. Most of the palace attendees had departed, and before leaving, Shen Luan encountered Xiao Ran, who had come specifically to advise her to exercise caution. Caution regarding what? After a moment's thought, Xiao Ran replied, the last time you spoke with someone named Chao Jin, I saw him lurking near the Shen residence on several occasions. Shen Luan raised an eyebrow. Is that so? It should be of little consequence. The streets are bustling with people. Passing by is common. It is not as simple as that. All I ask is that you remain vigilant, Shen Luan. Upon observing his serious demeanor, could not help but chuckle. She never anticipated that one day she would forge a friendship with Xiao Ran. The sensation was rather nuanced. Are you particularly concerned for my safety? Young Master Xiao, making a special trip to advise me? Xiao Ran's expression was somewhat taut, yet he gently acknowledged her with a soft Shen Luan's smile blossomed like a flower, her crescent-shaped eyes brimming with mirth. Thank you then. I shall take heed. She tilted her head to regard him. realizing that Lord Xiao was far more thoughtful and tender-hearted than she had previously imagined, prompting her to apologize for her prior prejudices. Mimicking the bowing gesture of men, Shun Luan clasped her hands and inclined her body in a courteous greeting. Once she straightened, she found herself unable to contain her laughter, her giggles ringing out like crystalline bells, instantly uplifting the spirits of those who heard. Xiao Ran seemed to be subtly affected by her joy, the corners of his lips lifting ever so slightly to, what a fortunate encounter, she remarked. She produced a fragrant sachet and offered it to him. It possesses insect-repelling properties. Since you intend to accompany the hunting party, it might prove useful. Xiao Ran's eyes suddenly sparkled with a different light as he firmly grasped the sachet. Is this for me? Indeed, I crafted numerous ones. The 9th Prince and Qin Shu have already received theirs, and I have quite a few left over. Please do not find it unworthy, she replied cheerfully. The gleam in Xiao Ran's eyes gradually returned to calmness, realizing that it was a common gift. Nevertheless, he smiled and expressed his gratitude, ensuring the sachet was safely stowed away. I shall cherish it. As the emperor departed Yin City with his entourage, Shun Luan found herself speculating daily about the events that might unfold. Would they mirror the outcomes of her past life? Or would Qiao Jin, that shameless individual, take preemptive measures? Amidst her myriad of conjectures, she received the 3rd letter from Qin Ji. My lady, there are some cakes. What sort of cakes? Shun Luan approached to find a small basket filled with round cakes, each about half the thickness of a fingertip, exuding a golden hue and emanating a rich aroma of wheat upon closer inspection. Let me set these aside for now. I will examine them shortly. She retreated indoors to break open the letter, deftly placing her self-portrait to the side as she unfolded the missive. Qin Gu had written about various mundane matters. Notably mentioning the cakes, he explained that due to the ongoing conflicts in Beiping, soldiers were compelled to fight valiantly, and provisions had to keep pace. However, ordinary food was difficult to preserve and transport, leading the families of the soldiers to create such cakes. These cakes appeared hard and unyielding, yet could be softened with water, providing substantial sustenance. The women of Beiping had collectively named them Xiangxi Bing, signifying the longing and blessings from their families, allowing soldiers on the battlefield to feel the affection and sentiments encapsulated within the cakes. Shun Luan was deeply moved by this, her heart swelling with respect for the warriors facing the grim realities of battle. Yet the name of the cakes aside, Qin Gu had notably emphasized in his letter that this basket of Xiangxi Bing was crafted by his own hands. How could he find the time for such endeavors? Shun Luan set the letter down, inexplicably feeling a warmth spread across her cheeks as she fanned her face with her hand. Amidst the chaos, he still found leisure to make cakes, while she could dismiss it as merely an experience of life. What was the intent behind sending her the completed Xiangxi Bing? And could the name of these cakes be any less ridiculous? Shun Luan silently critiqued as she approached the basket, lifting the cloth that covered it. The round Xiangxi Bing were stacked neatly, solid to the touch, devoid of any softness. On a whim, she picked one up and bit into it. She exerted considerable force, but her teeth ached and her gums throbbed without yielding a single bite, only leaving a shallow indentation. These were the sustenance for the border guards, who faced life and death, relying on such fare to fill their bellies. Shun Luan stared blankly, a tide of tumultuous emotions swelling within her. Xian entered, noticing Shen Luan squatting on the ground, and hurriedly helped her to her feet. You should take these to the stove. I will eat these tonight, my lady. How can one consume these? They can be eaten after being soaked in water. Shen Luan reassured her, gesturing for her to fetch the account books. I wish to calculate how much wealth I have accumulated. That evening, Xian presented the softened Xiangxi Bing to Shen Luan, alongside another food container. My lady, I truly cannot allow you to eat this. It looks unappetizing and devoid of desire. How can you consume this? Shen Luan remained silent, picking up a spoon to begin her meal. Indeed, it was rather tasteless. The soaked Xiangxi Bing was finally manageable to chew, yet its texture left much to be desired. She forced herself to consume a small bowl before stopping, finding no flavor at all. My lady, perhaps you should eat something else? Shen Luan shook her head, instructing her to take the other meal away to share with everyone else. Tomorrow, I shall eat this again, my lady. Shen Luan was determined to test her endurance. How long could she withstand such a monotonous diet in this tranquil and comfortable environment? For the next 2 days, Shen Luan persisted in her consumption of the cakes, while Xian could no longer contain herself. her voice tinged with tears as she implored, "My lady, what are you doing? Nothing of consequence. Why are you crying?" Shen Luan responded, wiping Xian's eyes, "I am not starving. Do not fret." As the days progressed, Shen Luan seemed to transform into a different person, becoming increasingly composed, her gaze exuding a reassuring warmth. However, her consumption of the cakes did not go unnoticed by her family. The matter was easily explained to the Jin family, where Shen Luan simply stated that she was trying to regulate her digestive system and wished to avoid meat. Jin was only half convinced and let it pass. However, when it came to Shen Xiao, Shen Luan instinctively felt a bit overwhelmed. "Is it amusing to you?" Shen Xiao inquired, his expression turning grave. Shen Luan had always believed that Shen Xiao could see through everything. Thus, she refrained from fabricating tales and merely disclosed that the basket of cakes had been sent from Beiping. "I merely wish to experience the sentiments of the border guards. Sometimes, they may lack even water." Relying on such provisions to engage in fierce battles against invading foes, their valor is truly commendable. Shen Xiao ceased his sharp remarks, leaning back in his chair, nodding in agreement. Indeed, however, they could receive better treatment. Yet at times, fate does not align with human desires. "Brother, has someone been withholding their rations? Such a critical matter as border defense, could it possibly encounter issues?" Chapter 137. A drop in the bucket. There were too many questions, layered upon one another, making it impossible to trace back to the source. Shen Xiao closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again, concealing the weight in his gaze. "However, you should temper your enthusiasm. I heard a basket was sent. Do you intend to consume it all?" "Not entirely. That basket of Shaanxi Bing may appear abundant, but it is manageable. Besides, I have—" "What cakes?" Shen Xiao abruptly interrupted, causing Shen Luan to momentarily falter, her heart skipping a beat. "That cake. What do you call it?" Shen Luan felt a pang of confusion. She thought it inconsequential. The name was not of her choosing. Yet for reasons unbeknownst to her, she found herself at a loss for words. Her gaze drifting before she casually replied, "The people of Beiping named it for good fortune, calling it Shaanxi Bing." "Brother, you know that in the battlefield, life and death are unpredictable. It is quite normal to rely on such tokens of sentiment. Right? Ha ha ha." Under Shen Xiao's silent scrutiny, Shen Luan's laughter grew increasingly forced, yet she persevered to finish, then stated earnestly, "I will ensure I eat properly from now on. You needn't worry, brother." Shen Xiao slowly lifted one corner of his mouth, speaking nonchalantly, "What is there to worry about? It would be a pity to waste something sent from Beiping, traveling such a distance. How much remains? A little less than half a basket. Since it is the intention of the heir of Guangyang Marquis, let us divide what remains among everyone, allowing them to experience a taste of Beiping's charm." Shen Xiao looked at her. "What do you think?" Shen Luan felt that while her brother's expression bore a smile, it carried an odd undertone. "I believe you make a valid point, brother." Later, Shen Luan distributed the remaining Shaanxi Bing. She kept one piece for herself but did not eat it, wrapping it in oil paper and placing it beside her self-portrait. Shen Luan's writing desk was cluttered with numerous account books and contracts, stacked high. She had sequestered herself in the study, oblivious to the passage of time. Shen Xiao received the Shaanxi Bing sent by Shen Luan, examining it in his hand before gently setting it aside. Things in Beiping remained unsettled. Shen Xiao narrowed his eyes. Given Shen Luan's carefree demeanor, a handful of rice would suffice to lead her willingly into a trap. This young heir's reach was quite extensive. Shen Xiao contemplated when he might have a word with Shen Luan, hoping to prevent her from being obliviously ensnared by others' intentions. Unexpectedly, she approached him. "Brother, I find myself with certain inquiries that I am unsure whom to pose to. May I trouble you for a moment, just a brief moment?" Shen Luan wore a smile full of goodwill, prompting Shen Xiao to gesture for her to take a seat. "Speak. It concerns the war in Beiping." Upon hearing Beiping, Shen Xiao instinctively furrowed his brow, about to interject, but Shen Luan continued without hesitation. "I have been learning the art of managing a shop alongside my mother, and I have certainly gained some insights. Frequently, I hear the shopkeeper mention affairs concerning the borderlands, his words tinged with a sense of nostalgia. Recently, due to the thoughtful gift of longing cakes sent by Brother Qin, I, despite being a woman, have come to further understand the hardships faced by those stationed at the borders. Shen Luan, having once brushed against death, is acutely aware of the profound unwillingness that arises within the heart at the moment of demise. She dares not ponder what thoughts occupy the minds of those who perish on the battlefield, but one thing is certain. They undoubtedly wish to survive, if only there were a greater possibility for survival. If only there were some chance, I am uncertain how I might be of assistance. I possess no great talents. After some consideration, I have compiled a modest sum of money, which, if it can be of use, would at least serve as a token of my intentions. Shen Luan meticulously organized her available funds and pushed the ledger towards Shen Wanshao, her expression clouded with worry. Yet, I am at a loss as to how to deliver this aid. To whom it should be given? Should I offer silver directly, or would it be better to exchange it for grain, brother? Could you help me ponder this matter? She looked up, her bright eyes fixed on Shen Wanshao, patiently awaiting his response. For a fleeting moment, Shen Wanshao was nearly entranced by the sparkle in Shen Luan's eyes. In times of national strife, many have engaged in similar acts of charity, ostentatiously distributing rice to alleviate disaster, garnering both goodwill and renown. However, Shen Luan is different. She is utterly ignorant of such matters. Having received but a few hard cakes, she muses on what she might do, though the countless soldiers defending the borders. Your contribution is but a drop in the ocean. Shen Wanshao's tone bore no trace of emotion, which somewhat disheartened Shen Luan, yet she quickly nodded, affirming her understanding. She began to count on her fingers. I have calculated that among the shops I currently own, 4 are profitable, while 2 are just starting out. Thus, I must reserve some silver for future transactions. I am already seeking someone to take over the unnecessary farm properties. Although my available silver is limited, every little bit counts. Shen Luan's face was earnest, and her focused demeanor gradually softened the coldness in Shen Wanshao's gaze. Naive, he thought. Shen Luan puffed up her cheeks, her eyes slowly drooping. Is that not so? Perhaps I am being overly simplistic indeed. What can such a meager sum accomplish? Yet, she sincerely hopes that in living a longer life, she might do something beyond seeking vengeance, something that would make her worthy of affection. As the light in Shen Luan's eyes began to dim, Shen Wanshao took her ledger in hand. If you send all this away, you will have little silver left to use. Shen Luan raised her eyes. I never had any need to spend silver in the first place. Fool. Shen Wanshao silently shook his head. While other young ladies strive to increase their dowries, here she is, enduring ridicule as she engages in trade, readily giving away her hard-earned silver. I cannot guarantee that I will fulfill your wishes, but I will certainly give it a try. Shen Luan's eyes sparkled brightly. Really, brother, you are willing to help me? Shen Wanshao shot her an exasperated glare. I merely said I would try. Regardless, there is nothing my brother cannot accomplish. In Shen Luan's eyes, Shen Wanshao was omnipotent. Having agreed, he would surely yield results. Shen Luan was elated, reminiscent of her childhood, and she leapt forward to embrace Shen Wanshao's neck, exclaiming, "Thank you, brother." Shen Wanshao stiffened momentarily, and once Shen Luan released him, he cast her another glare. By the way, what did you call the heir of Guangyang Marquis earlier? Brother Qin. Since when did you adopt another brother? Shen Luan blinked her round eyes a few times, an epiphany striking her as she broke into a sweet smile. You are my only brother. My dear brother. No one can compare. Shen Wanshao pursed his lips, his expression complex, and after a moment, he spoke softly. When you leave, be sure to close the door. All right. After entrusting the matter to Shen Wanshao, Shen Luan felt utterly at ease. Having an extraordinarily capable brother is a wonderful relief. She need only focus on diligently earning more money. Xian, how long has it been since the royal hunt? When will they return? Xian calculated the days. It has only been 10 days or so. It typically lasts a month or so. Miss, are you yearning for Miss Qin? Shen Luan nodded. Qin Shu is gone as well. She is the daughter of the Guangyang Marquis, and both the Marquis and his son are currently pacifying the unrest. The Emperor has granted Qin Shu this privilege. I cannot help but wonder how they are faring. Shen Luan anxiously awaited news, her heart inclined to believe that Chao Jin would not intervene so soon. The lack of promotion for Chao Jin in the Hanlin Academy indicated that the third prince did not trust him. His character, which only acted when benefits were in sight, would not lead him to assist the third prince in toppling the ninth prince without personal gain. He sought not to aid the third prince in seizing the throne, but rather to secure his own maximum benefit from the situation. Only if the third prince and the ninth prince were at odds could he find his opportunity and gradually ascend with the third prince's backing. Day by day, Shen Luan awaited news at home. Finally, the royal hunt's procession returned to Yin City. Without delay, Shen Luan went to seek out Qin Shu. Upon seeing Shen Luan, Qin Shu appeared as though she had narrowly escaped a calamity. "Wu Aoyuan?" Shen Luan caught the rushing Qin Shu, asking in quick succession, "What happened? Did something occur during the hunt?" "A major incident. It nearly scared me to death." Qin Shu recounted her harrowing experience, still shaken. "You cannot imagine. At one point, I thought I might never return. For reasons unknown, a multitude of venomous creatures suddenly emerged during the hunt, and despite the presence of accompanying physicians, many lives were tragically lost. The poisonous creatures spooked the horses and prey, causing considerable chaos and nearly injuring the emperor. Fortunately, the imperial guards arrived just in time. By the way, I must tell you in secret that Xiao Ran distinguished himself this time. Had it not been for him, the emperor would surely have been harmed. He has truly made a name for himself and will undoubtedly receive a reward soon." "What luck?" Qin Shu's expression soured at the mention of Xiao Ran. She had no fondness for him. After all, he was blind and had rejected a girl as remarkable as Aoyuan. Yet, she felt compelled to thank him, for without him, certain individuals would not have had their opportunity. Shen Luan was taken aback, scanning Qin Shu anxiously. "But are you all right?" "I am well, and I must mention that the sachet you gave me proved invaluable. I remained by the side of Consort Zhen, and we were both unharmed. Aoyuan, you are truly remarkable." Qin Shu produced the sachet, inhaling its fragrance deeply, then leaned against Shen Luan, saying, "No, it still makes me a bit dizzy when I get too close." "Shen Luan," she seated the lively girl down. "And what else? Was it only Xiao Ran who distinguished himself?" Qin Shu then recalled, "Oh, there was also Yuan Ling Tsk. I don't know what luck he stumbled upon, but he also earned the emperor's praise. I believe it was merely by chance." Shen Luan remarked fairly, "The ninth prince is astute and has trained under your second brother. It is only natural for him to achieve success. Why deny it? Who is denying it?" Qin Shu scoffed. "He is not that impressive." Chapter 138. Another scheme afoot. Upon returning from the royal hunt, the first order of business for Yuan Shan was to summon Chao Jian. "How did you know what would transpire during the hunt?" Prior to their departure, Chao Jian had sought him out, vaguely warning him to be cautious of venomous creatures. Yuan Shan had dismissed him at the time, thinking he was merely seeking attention. However, at this moment, Yuan Shan's perspective shifted. The venomous creatures had indeed appeared, and Yuan Ling had truly shown in front of the emperor. Every detail seemed to align with Chao Jin's earlier warnings. Standing there calmly, Chao Jin wore an inscrutable expression. "Your Highness, please forgive me for not being able to divulge the details. I am solely dedicated to strategizing for your Highness's benefit. I hope you understand my loyalty." Chao Jian was unafraid of the third prince's anger. He held his cards tightly. Yuan Shan scrutinized him for a moment, then suddenly chuckled lightly. "In that case, let me see your loyalty once more. Of course, those who are loyal to me shall receive what they desire." Chao Jin's heart leaped with joy. He knelt, lifting his robe. "Then I shall preemptively wish your Highness success in your endeavors." A few days later, Chao Jin was promoted to the position of Shijiang, a sixth-rank official. Upon learning this, Shen Luan calculated in her mind that it was not a significant rank. Thus, it was merely a small token of favor from the third prince to Chao Jin. Chao Jin would undoubtedly be dissatisfied. If he sought more, he would have to continue to prove his worth. However, the third prince is not a fool. At this moment, Chao Jin is no longer the same minister as before. If she were the third prince, she would not hold Chao Jin in such regard. There are many ways to make use of someone. While Shen Luan was at home racking her brain for ways to earn money, she also recalled whether there were any memories from her past life that she could remember. "Miss, there are people from the palace. Please enter the palace immediately." Xian rushed in a flurry. Shen Luan was taken aback. "Me? Enter the palace immediately? The people are outside. Miss, what should we do?" Shen Luan chuckled. "Then let's go in. What else is there to do?" Mrs. Jean hurriedly arrived upon hearing the news. Pressing her for details, Shen Luan was equally perplexed. "I don't know either. Mother, there's no need to worry. Since they are already at the door, we shouldn't delay." She quickly changed her clothes, and Mrs. Jean, filled with worry, saw her off. Once she was out of sight, she went to find Zhang Shi. Why on earth would they summon a Luan to the palace? Could something have happened? Zhang Shi, adorned with a new string of Buddhist prayer beads that Shen Luan had specially requested for her, gently moved the beads, trying to calm herself down. "No matter what, we must remain composed. For Yuan Shou's sake, the emperor will not make things too difficult for Luaner. Besides, I have the support of the Marquis of Chongqing. There shouldn't be any major trouble. We just need to wait quietly for news. Mrs. Jin's heart gradually settled. Indeed, I was a bit too anxious. Should we inform Wen Xiao about this? Not yet. Whether it is a blessing or a disaster, we will know soon enough. Shen Luan was also anxious, as the eunuch had mentioned that the emperor wished to see her. She pondered to herself. She had been quite well behaved lately and had not offended anyone. It struck her as amusing that in her previous life, she had never entered the palace, and now it was her umpteenth time in this life. Truly, living another life made a difference, as she walked outside the hall with the palace maid. Shen Luan waited with her eyes focused inward. Once she was summoned to meet the emperor, she straightened her attire and entered with her back erect. After respectfully greeting the emperor, Shen Luan heard him bid her to rise. His tone does not seem to indicate anger, as she stood. Her peripheral vision caught sight of concubine Zhan and His Highness the Ninth Prince, along with the third prince standing nearby. Show it to her. Is this yours? A palace maid presented an object to Shen Luan. She lowered her gaze and replied, Your Majesty, this indeed was crafted by a commoner. It was a sachet, unmistakably one of her creations, of which she had made many, all in the same floral pattern, leaving her uncertain of whom it was intended for. Yuan Ling's clear voice rang out, Father, this time it is truly thanks to Miss Shun San that Mother has remained unharmed. If you do not reward her, I can take it upon myself. The emperor shot him a glance, smiling as he remarked, Your sachets were all obtained from Qin Shu. Shun San gifted her plenty. It would not be amiss to receive one for myself. Yuan Ling laughed nonchalantly and turned to Shen Luan. Miss Shun's sachets are particularly effective. What do you put inside? Shen Luan replied, This commoner knows that Shu Shu is going hunting, and I happen to learn a formula from a renowned physician that can repel insects and mosquitoes. It is remarkably effective, so I made quite a few. If His Highness the Ninth Prince is interested, I can present the formula to you upon my return. Shen Luan felt a slight relief. She hadn't anticipated this matter would bring her such anxiety. The emperor nodded lightly. You have played a significant role this time. Several were injured, still undergoing treatment for the poison. Thanks to your sachet, concubine Zhan has escaped a calamity. I acknowledge your contribution. What reward would you like? Shen Luan had no particular thoughts on rewards, knowing the emperor was unlikely to act against Chao Jin simply to please her. Suddenly, the third prince spoke gently, Father, a woman like Miss Shun, possessing both grace and intellect, is indeed rare these days. A mere reward is transitory. A woman of such exceptional qualities deserves a life of peace and security as a true reward. Yuan Shan's tone was exceedingly gentle, and his gaze upon Shen Luan felt almost tangible. Causing her to shiver imperceptibly, he was plotting something. Shen Luan was certain that the third prince was up to mischief. Yuan Shan's eyes sparkled with mirth. Was this not an excellent opportunity? To marry her as his consort. What could be a better reward than that? By proposing it now, his father would surely contemplate it. Even if it did not come to pass, it would still reveal his intentions. The emperor's gaze swept over Yuan Shun. Then what kind of reward do you believe would grant her peace and security? Shen Luan felt a surge of impatience, abruptly lifting her gaze, only to hear Yuan Ling chime in ahead of her. Naturally, it is to be free from any constraints, living according to one's own wishes. Yuan Ling's expression was filled with innocence. Father, Miss Shun is unlike other women. She is exceptionally talented and renowned in Yin City for her resourcefulness. She lacks nothing except for a suitable marriage. Shen Luan internally seethed. Can you all refrain from speaking so recklessly? Upon hearing this, Yuan Shan was filled with delight. It was rare for Yuan Ling to voice something so agreeable to him. I believe the ninth brother's words are quite astute. Therefore, if father is to bestow a reward, let it be one that aligns with her wishes. Most marriages are arranged by parental consent. Since Miss Shun is so perceptive and intelligent, why not grant her the grace to decide her own marriage for the future? After Yuan Ling finished speaking, he appeared to think his idea was brilliant, wearing an expression that awaited praise. Yuan Shan's expression, however, momentarily twisted, realizing his oversight. Indeed, it seemed that Yuan Ling was naturally at odds with him. The emperor's brow furrowed slightly. What is this nonsense about making one's own marriage decisions? What is so strange about it? In my opinion, Miss Shun is astute and discerning. If she were to marry someone she does not like, it would be a disaster. I perceive that Miss Shen does not seem opposed to my suggestion, correct? Yuan Ling winked at Shen Luan, who at that moment found the ninth prince's image towering and impressive, leaving a lasting impression. What His Highness the Ninth Prince says is quite right. If the Emperor grants this favor, I would be immensely grateful and would remember your kindness at home. The Emperor's gaze settled upon her. Do you believe this to be a good idea? Your Majesty, yes. Most women cannot determine their own fates, but I have previously stated that I wish to willingly marry someone I love. If that cannot happen, I would rather remain single for life. If your Majesty is willing to grant me this grace, I shall forever cherish your kindness. This idea was simply splendid. Had they not been in the palace, Shen Luan would have been unable to contain her excitement, wanting to leap for joy and celebration. What a remarkable gem the ninth prince was, suggesting such an enchanting proposal. For this alone, she must return and praise him profusely in front of Qin Shu to overturn her inexplicable bias against him. As Shen Luan finished speaking, an eerie silence fell over the hall, so much so that a pin drop could be heard. She lowered her head anxiously, wondering what was amiss. Was this truly such an outrageous request? It certainly did not seem so. Why did the Emperor not react at all? In the suffocating atmosphere, movement finally stirred. Concubine Zhang's gentle voice, like a clear spring, dispelled the heaviness. This time, we owe much to Miss Shen's sachet. I, as a humble servant, wish to request this grace from the Emperor on her behalf. Though she said request, Concubine Zhang's tone was exceedingly light, devoid of any fluctuation, even hinting at a trace of weariness. Shen Luan inadvertently caught a glimpse of the Emperor regarding Concubine Zhang, whose expression was neutral, her eyes unwavering, allowing the Emperor to scrutinize her. Ultimately, it was the Emperor who averted his gaze first. As if unable to continue looking, very well, I grant you this grace. From now on, you may decide your own marriage. No one shall coerce you. Shen Luan immediately bowed in gratitude. Sincerely, to have gained such a substantial reward from her visit to the palace was entirely unexpected. Upon exiting, she could hardly contain her exhilaration. I can hardly believe it. Is this real? Truly? Zian nodded fervently for what felt like the 100th time. It is real. Miss, are you thirsty? Would you like some water? Chapter 139. A brother is just a brother. Shen Luan dazedly shook her head and unexpectedly burst into laughter, nearly dancing with joy in the carriage. This is wonderful, she recalled, glancing at the third prince's expression before leaving. It had been positively stormy. He must have been plotting against her, and Shen Luan had been particularly anxious, wondering how she would respond if the third prince proposed marriage to her in an attempt to win over her brother. She could not possibly refuse in front of the Emperor. After all, he was a prince. What right did she have to look down upon him? Thus, there seemed to be no way out. But now, it was different. The Emperor had spoken. No one could compel her. Shen Luan felt as if she had shed shackles, almost floating with lightness. The effort put into those sachets was absolutely worth it. I must return and deliver the insect-repelling formula to the ninth prince as a token of gratitude for his unintentional kindness. Upon returning to the Shun household, she found Shun Wenxiao waiting for her. As she recounted the entire sequence of events, the Shun family collectively breathed a sigh of relief. As long as it was a reward, they were grateful, fearing it might be something else entirely. Jin Shi embraced Shen Luan with a sense of nostalgia, while Zhang Shi's expression visibly lightened. However, Shen Wenxiao pondered for a moment. Their mother had taken the time to prepare 2 new outfits for her. But why? Shen Wenxiao looked Shen Luan up and down. This attire had already been worn in the palace, and it would be inappropriate to wear it again on the next visit. Shen Luan widened her eyes. Next time? I don't want to go. There's nothing interesting there. Shen Wenxiao shot her a sidelong glance, too lazy to engage, and returned to the courtyard. Mother, he rolled his eyes at me. Shen Luan protested, but Jin Shi merely pressed her lips together and whispered, then you should turn the tables behind his back, and this matter will be forgotten. Shen Luan. She straightened up, declaring, I believe we must not further embolden my brother's arrogance at home. If this continues, no young lady would wish to become my sister-in-law. Jin Shi gazed skyward, murmuring, I fear it may already be too late. Shen Wenxiao's words, even if spoken lightly, remained etched in Jin Shi's heart. She truly summoned the tailors from the embroidery house to measure Shen Luan for 2 new dresses. In a few days, Accompany me to Jinshui Lu to select 2 sets of jewelry to match. Shen Luan shook her head. I have no shortage of jewelry. I can make do with what I have. You haven't added a single piece in 2 months. This simply won't do. Shen Luan resolutely refused. Lamenting her poverty, Xian, standing nearby, was rendered speechless. It seemed as though the young lady had transformed overnight into a miser, unwilling to spend a dime, constantly insisting they had everything at home, even counting the days until she could indulge in her favorite snacks. Outside, the flattery seemed insincere. The young lady graciously accepted compliments only to return home and continue saving money. My lady, please heed the madam's advice and buy a few things. It won't cost much silver. Shen Luan declined. The more she contemplated, the more her heart trembled. She was fortunate to have been born into the Shen family, blessed with a loving stepmother like Jin Shi, and had always lived in comfort and luxury. She had grown accustomed to it, buying a beautiful bracelet or a few boxes of newly released rouge without a second thought. Yet now, every time she beheld such items, they instinctively transformed in her mind into rations. How many measures of grain could a bracelet purchase? How much meat could it buy? How many mouths could it feed? These extravagant possessions were not necessities for her, but if used wisely, they might save lives. It may sound hypocritical, but Shen Luan was a grateful child. She appreciated the precious opportunity bestowed upon her to seek vengeance and wished to repay this kindness with her own benevolence. Jinshi found herself at a loss with Shen Luan. She had intended to take the initiative to buy her a few adornments, only to have Shen Wenxiao send a box over. For me? Shen Luan felt a mix of surprise and melancholy, as the shadow cast by that resplendent, gem-studded doll had yet to fade. That item was difficult to sell, and she feared that one day Shen Wenxiao might whimsically bring it up. Leaving her at a loss, the second young master said he hopes you will like it. Shen Luan held her breath and slowly opened the box, her doubts dissipating. Inside was a set of elegant and beautiful hairpins and jewelry. Did my brother send this? The second young master had it brought back from outside. No other young lady in Yinqing has such a it will surely look lovely on you. The sweet-tongued servant completed his task with a grin. Returning to Shen Wenxiao to report, the third young lady is quite taken with it. Her eyes are all smiles. Shen Wenxiao quietly turned a page of his book, and the servant fell silent. Discreetly exiting, he lingered over that page for quite some time, then suddenly smiled. If she liked it, then his efforts were not in vain. Shen Luan thought Shen Wenxiao was jesting. How could there be another occasion for her to enter the palace? Yet her brother was indeed her brother. She believed he could easily predict fortunes at the market with his eyes closed. Congratulations to the third young lady. You should hurry. The emperor is waiting. Shen Luan smiled, appearing innocent, as the eunuch might subtly hint at the source of her joy. Once the young lady enters the palace, she will know, dressed in new clothes and adorned with new ornaments. Shen Luan sat numbly in the carriage, devoid of any excitement about entering the palace. All she felt was annoyance. The walk through the palace gates would be long and tiresome. She speculated on the reason for her visit, but failed to guess correctly. This time, she was summoned to express gratitude. The emperor had conferred upon Shen Luan the title of County Princess of Lucheng in recognition of her selfless contributions. Shen Luan, dizzy and disoriented, finally understood it was due to her monetary donation. It is rare for a woman to possess such a heart for the world. This quality is not something ordinary people can claim. You are truly commendable, worthy of your father. Shen Luan kowtowed in thanks. Dazedly accepting praise and rewards, escorted grandly out of the palace and back home. The Shen residents had already received news from the palace, marked by the sound of gongs and drums, creating a grand spectacle. The announcement of Shen Luan's title as County Princess was publicly proclaimed via imperial decree, causing quite a stir in Yinqing. Shen Luan, retreating into her home, felt overwhelmed by the flood of invitations arriving at her door. Each one a headache to behold. It was merely a title, devoid of any real power. Was it truly necessary? Xian's emotions were stirred. But my lady, you are now a county princess when you go out. Common folk must bow to you. Who would dare speak ill of you again? No one is saying anything now. Xian paused. That is true, but are you not pleased? Shen Luan pouted. It's fine. I'm still not as happy as I should be for the emperor's kindness. If he truly wanted to reward me, he should give me more silver. That I lack, Xian. When Shen Wenxiao returned, Shen Luan rushed to him to vent her frustrations. She said nothing, simply sat in silence. puffing out her cheeks and casting glances his way. Shen Wenshao set down his brush. If you have something to say, say it. If not, return to your courtyard, brother. How could the emperor possibly know about this? Shen Luan was particularly perplexed. Her monetary contribution hardly warranted such a grand reward, and she felt a twinge of guilt. Shen Wenshao scoffed lightly. What is there to feel guilty about? Did you not do this? He said casually, I know you seek no reward, but do you not wish to accomplish something? Now that you have acted and received a reward, do you think others may follow your lead? Shen Luan's mouth fell open in awe, her gaze toward Shen Wenshao filled with admiration. Even if it were not for the reward, those who previously prided themselves on their benevolence would surely feel compelled to act, thus benefiting the soldiers at the borders. Are you not pleased? Shen Luan nodded vigorously. I am. Her expression had completely transformed. Brother, you are so clever. She had merely wished to contribute her humble efforts, yet this matter in Shen Wenshao's hands had multiplied in effect. The admiration in Shen Luan's eyes was nearly overflowing, eliciting amusement from Shen Wenshao. All right, you are now a county princess. Though it may not hold much practical value, it still enhances your status, giving you a bit more confidence in the world. Do not always present yourself as someone easy to bully. Shen Luan did not believe she was easily bullied. She directly refuted anyone who spoke ill of her. Oh. Shen Luan, satisfied, left Shen Wenshao and returned to her own room, sitting at her writing desk, spreading out the papers she had repeatedly taken out over the past few days. Yes, she was torn over whether or not to write a response to Qin Go. Regarding this matter, Shen Luan had been in inner conflict for several days, with no resolution. Each time Qin Gu sent a letter home to Yinqing, there was always one addressed to her. Shen Luan had been taught since childhood that it was improper not to reciprocate correspondence. By common standards, she should have replied long ago. Yet she found herself at a loss for words. Shen Luan rested her chin on her hand, daydreaming. Qin Ji's letters were lively and interesting, but she had little to share, just the mundane details of her everyday life. She lazily picked up her brush and wrote haphazardly about events she encountered in the shop, people she met at banquets, and some of the gossips circulating in Yinqing. Shen Luan found herself devoid of thoughts. By the time she regained her focus, she had written 2 full sheets, recounting the day she left the palace when the sky unexpectedly opened up with rain. The palace maids hurriedly fetched rain gear, which took quite some time. At that moment in the corridor, she instinctively extended her hand, and as a cold drop landed in her palm, the image of Qin Gu appearing before her with an umbrella flashed unexpectedly in her mind. Startled, Shen Luan quickly withdrew her hand, no longer daring to play in the rain, and obediently awaited the palace maids to procure the rain gear before leaving the palace. Shen Luan set down her brush, glancing at what she had written and contemplating tearing it up, but after much hesitation, she folded it neatly and set it aside. Chao Jin stood before the notice for a long time. Unable to tear himself away, it proclaimed Shen Luan's elevation to county princess. Around him, the air was filled with the admiration and envy of onlookers, their repeated mentions of Shen Luan's name starkly contrasting with the image of her in Chao Jin's heart. How could there be such a vast discrepancy? Chapter 140. Youthful naivety. How did the gentle and demure Shen Luan, who quietly managed everything for the Chao family, suddenly become so radiant and admired by all? This third young lady of the Shen family, what kind of fortune awaits her in the future? She possesses both talent and luck, and with a brother who is held in high esteem. I dare say that in the days to come, no royal or noble family would be worthy of her. Indeed, there were those who once foolishly sought her hand in marriage, but now, who would dare? One must possess self-awareness. Such a noble lady is not something ordinary folk can covet. The twins of the Shen family's third branch are truly exceptional. Whoever marries her will undoubtedly benefit greatly. Chao Jian felt a sharp pain in his eyes, as though the distance between him and Shen Luan was growing ever wider, deepening into an insurmountable chasm. Although there had been a gap between them from the start, he had managed to bridge it, pulling Shen Luan down from her lofty perch to stand beside him. Yet now, it seemed that even if he reached out, he could no longer grasp her. How could this be? Panting heavily, his breath was so labored that those nearby glanced at him in concern. How could Shen Luan drift further away from him? Whether she is a county princess or a true princess, she should be his. She was in a past life. How could this time be any different? Just wait, and wait some more. Chao Jin's eyes flickered with a frenzied obsession. Once he aided the third prince in ascending the throne, once he had helped secure this realm for him, how difficult could it be to claim a woman for himself? At the Shen residence, Yushir felt irritable about everything. What kind of fortune had the third branch stumbled upon? Ever since they separated, good fortune had been pouring in for them. Were they doing this on purpose? She had thought that after the separation, the main branch would gradually stabilize, especially since Shin Yuenda had been entrenched in the Hanlin Academy for quite some time. In terms of lineage and qualifications, he far surpassed Shun Wanxiao and would undoubtedly overshadow the third branch. Unbound, the main branch of the Shin family should have been able to uphold the family name alone. Yet now, who in the entire Yin City remembers the main branch of the Shin family? Gifts and congratulations all flocked to the third branch, as if they were not even surnamed Shun. Go, prepare some gifts. We shall pay a visit to the Shun residence tomorrow. Such a significant event. How could I, as the aunt, not express my sentiments? Yushir gritted her teeth. After all, they were still family. Visitors to the Shen residence came in droves, as plentiful as chives sprouting anew. The congratulatory gifts flowed in like a river, and the list of presents sprawled across the floor. Shun Luan had no choice but to muster her spirits to deal with everyone, familiar and unfamiliar alike, maintaining a smile throughout the day, only to complain of facial fatigue by night. Quick, take a look. Are there imprints from smiling on my face? Jinshi chuckled as she playfully patted her, applying pearl powder to her face, smoothing it out delicately. Everyone is here to congratulate you. However, I believe it is quite sufficient now. The Emperor has specifically conferred upon you the title of County Princess. You are the first in Yin City, which is bound to intrigue people in a few days. This will settle down. Shunluan, with her face smeared, replied, Mother, tomorrow Aunt and the others are coming, claiming they wish to see grandmother. But I suspect it is not so simple. Perhaps Aunt regrets the separation? Jinshi snorted coldly. Regret? What of it? Back when Wanxiao was in the palace, and everyone was left in the dark, they were in such a hurry to separate. No one forced them. Let them come, and we shall treat them as guests. Shun Luan secretly smiled, genuinely fond of her stepmother's nature. Clean and decisive, never one to muddle through matters. Sometimes she thought, if she were truly her stepmother's daughter, that would be quite nice. The next day, Yushir indeed came to visit, accompanied by Lu Shi and bringing Xinling. When Xinluan saw them, Xinling couldn't even bring herself to look her way, merely offering a perfunctory greeting, filled with reluctance. Yet Lu Shi was more enthusiastic than ever, exclaiming, Luan girl, it has been quite some time since we last met, and you have achieved so much. Our Shen family has produced a county princess. What great fortune this is for you. Lu Shi beamed as she praised her non-stop, showering Xinluan with compliments from head to toe. Knowing that Yushir intended to visit the Shen residence, Lu Shi had insisted on tagging along without a second thought, forgoing the need to prepare gifts, simply to ride the coattails of the main branch. Yushir felt disgusted but could voice none of her feelings, only stifling her frustration within. Shunluan courteously offered tea to her guests, saying, Aunt, second aunt, please make yourselves at home. Grandmother is currently resting. Once she awakens, you will have the opportunity to pay your respects. Lu Shi's eyes scanned the exquisite tea treats, noting that while the second branch had not changed locations after the separation, all expenses now had to be borne independently. After leaving the public sphere, Lu Shi had come to appreciate the concept of frugality, but how could one avoid spending money on food, clothing, and necessities? Gradually, they had begun to tighten their belts, while the third branch seemed to flourish even more extravagantly than before. I must say, Luan girl, you are indeed thriving. Everyone knows how many shops you manage, with silver flowing into the Shan residence like water. Not to mention, you even have surplus funds to give away to others. We do possess a kind heart, but our abilities are limited. Lu Shi sighed, then smiled at her again, but Luan girl, you are still quite young. In certain matters, your experience may be lacking. The world is filled with treachery. Outsiders cannot be compared to family. With so many shops under your management, you may find it overwhelming. Since we are family, if there is anything we can assist you with, do not hesitate to ask. Lu Shi's envy of the third branch's business had not developed overnight. Previously, she had always criticized them for their lack of refinement and the pungent smell of copper. Yet who would refuse such substantial wealth if given the chance? Especially after the separation, she had come to realize the value of money. Even a small leak from the third branch could provide them with ample resources. Yusher subtly rolled her eyes but said nothing. If Lu Shi's little scheme were to succeed, perhaps the main branch could benefit from it as well? Shen Luan smiled graciously, personally pouring tea for Lu Shi, stating, "Second aunt need not worry. I still manage well in the past. You held disdain for business matters. How could I trouble you?" Lu Shi's expression faltered for a moment as she prepared to argue, but then heard Shen Luan continue. "I heard recently that second sister has been getting quite close to the third prince. He is known for his elegance and reputation. With second sister's talents, it is no wonder others regard her with admiration." Lu Shi immediately fell silent, while Xin Ling shot her a series of warning glances. She must maintain her image in the third prince's eyes, avoiding anything that could be deemed vulgar. Seeing Lu Shi quiet, Shen Luan smiled internally. It seemed the third prince held more weight in their hearts than she had anticipated. Did they genuinely believe him to be a desirable match? Were their standards truly so low? Yusher had not come for idle chatter. "Luan girl, is Wenxiao at home today?" Shen Luan shook her head. "Brother is at the Hanlin Academy. There's something aunt wishes to find him for?" "He is not here." A hint of regret crossed Yusher's face. "Indeed, some matters required his presence. If he is not here, could you do me a favor and convey a message to him?" Yusher's expression softened, revealing none of the coldness she had displayed during the separation. She had heard that Shen Wenxiao had been fiercely protective of Shen Luan outside. Who in Yin City would dare speak ill of her? Thus, if Shen Luan were to assist in conveying a message, it might prove useful. Shen Luan maintained her gentle smile, saying, "Aunt, if it is a trivial matter, you may speak directly to my mother. If it is something significant pertaining to brother's affairs, I cannot assist. Perhaps you should wait for brother to return and discuss it with him yourself." She displayed a row of neat, white teeth, adding, "After all, I am but a young lady. Not all matters are suitable for me to relate it. Oh dear, it's just a small favor." "You would not help your aunt?" Shen Luan replied with a twinkle in her eye. "Indeed, I am young and inexperienced. I hope aunt can forgive me. You sure? Is this girl out of her mind? She can even give herself a way out." Shen Luan remembered well how they had treated her family when her brother had gone missing in the palace. Shen Luan held grudges and would not let bygones be bygones simply because they were all members of the Shin family. One must reckon with their actions. She was principled in her beliefs. Yusher's complexion fluctuated between green and white, but it was clear Shen Luan had no intention of indulging her. She extended proper hospitality, observing all the courtesies, but beyond that, there was nothing more to offer. After a while, the matriarch awoke, and Yusher and Lu Shi proceeded to pay their respects. Zhang Shi's demeanor towards them was also indifferent. She understood their desire for self-preservation, yet if it were not for them, the Shin family might not have fractured so quickly. "I am in good health. You need not worry. Return and live your lives well." Zhang Shi offered them a cup of tea, subtly urging them to leave. Yusher felt reluctant. Having come all this way and bringing gifts, how could she return empty-handed? Since Shen Luan's approach was unyielding, she bit the bullet and sought out Jin Shi. Gone was the previous air of superiority. Yusher wore a pained expression, sincerely lamenting to Jin Shi, "In the past, I was indeed short-sighted. However, dear sister-in-law, managing a large family, young and old alike, was no easy feat, and my husband, though not as capable as the third brother, was equally stubborn as the eldest daughter-in-law of the Shun family. The burden on my shoulders was truly heavy." At this moment, Yusher displayed no airs, her face marred by a frown. "I could not help but ponder the situation more thoroughly. After all, we have been sisters-in-law for numerous years without ever having a quarrel. This incident was indeed an unforeseen mishap. In hindsight, I found myself feeling uneasy, yet dear sister-in-law, under those circumstances, one tends to lose composure when panic sets in. Surely you can understand that." Jin Shi, wearing a gentle smile, nodded appreciatively. "How could I not comprehend what my elder sister-in-law is expressing?" Yusher felt a surge of joy within, only to hear Jin Shi continue. "However, my dear sister-in-law must also empathize with my feelings. After nurturing a son for over a decade, one cannot fathom the sudden upheaval, only to be treated as if we were strangers." Her smile deepened. "Had something truly befallen when Xiao in the palace that day, I doubt my elder sister-in-law would have uttered such words to me." Chapter 141. Keeping secrets. Shen Luan, standing nearby, felt a wave of embarrassment for Yusher, yet silently cheered for her biological mother. Yusher's expression shifted numerous times. Was my sister-in-law still holding a grudge against me? Indeed, human hearts are tender. Having been wounded once, can one simply apologize and pretend nothing transpired? I am merely a delicate woman, sensitive and easily hurt, with healing that is equally elusive. Jane Sher's smile took on a softer demeanor, which only served to vex you Sher further. After all, she had been raised in comfort and ease. How could she possibly understand the depth of injury, moreover, after so many years without conflict between my elder sister-in-law and myself? It truly was not an insurmountable issue. The expenses of the third household presented some challenges, yet I could not be bothered to engage in disputes, which is why there were no significant disagreements. Jan Sher adjusted the lid of her teacup and took a gentle sip, however. Discussing this now seems unnecessary. As we do not reside in close quarters, you need not worry about us becoming a burden to you in the future. Third sister-in-law, your words strike at the heart, you Sher retorted. Did I ever imply such a thing? Did you not? I may lack in many areas, but discerning others' intentions is one of my strengths. I am well aware of your past thoughts, dear sister-in-law. You Sher had always known Jean Sher to be rather unrefined. Yet she never anticipated such a blatant disregard for decorum. Wasn't there at least a modicum of familial respect to uphold? However, Jane Sher appeared entirely unfazed, her slightly plump countenance perpetually adorned with a courteous smile, as if they shared an exceptionally close bond. You Sher seethed inwardly, realizing that indeed, one does not need to be of the same blood to share such traits. Shun Luan seemed to have been molded from the same mold. Impenetrable and infuriating, ultimately, Yu Sher's intentions to mend relations with the third household were thwarted. Shen Yuande could avert his gaze, but with Shen Wenxiao's rising fame in Yin City, surely some benefit could be reaped from that connection. Yet Jean Sher and her daughter remained elusive, leaving Yu Sher with no opportunity to voice her desires before departing. Her countenance darkened as she returned home, her heart brimming with frustration. Now, she could only hope that Jian would achieve remarkable success. And then it would be their turn to humbly seek her assistance. The wheel of fortune turns, and time will tell. News of Xiao Ran's promotion reached Shen Luan through Qin Shu. During a visit, Qin Shu found Shen Luan smiling brightly, teasing her about her acquaintance with the county princess of Luqing. Shen Luan playfully patted her shoulder, and the two erupted into laughter. Luan, you are truly remarkable. You have no idea how many people in Yin City are following your lead, sending supplies to the border. However, those who trail in your wake will likely receive little reward, but the soldiers at the border are indeed fortunate. Qin Shu, affectionately clinging to Shen Luan's arm, nuzzled her shoulder. Before I came, my mother insisted that I express my gratitude to you. Your actions will undoubtedly aid my father and second brother. I acted without intent. If it helps, that would be splendid. It will certainly help. Qin Shu continued to chat animatedly with Shen Luan, eventually mentioning Xiao Ran. He has achieved great merit this time. He performed exceptionally well in the Jinhui, and the emperor has granted him entry into the supervisory court. He is now basking in glory, with a future that knows no bounds. Qin Shu pouted, and upon seeing this, Shen Luan laughed. What troubles you? Shouldn't you be pleased for him? I am not unhappy. His success has no bearing on me. It's just that. Qin Shu lowered her voice, casting a glance at Shen Luan. You know about your former engagement to Xiao Ran. Many in Yin City are aware. Now that he is soaring, there will inevitably be whispers behind your back. Shen Luan poked Qin Shu's cheek with her finger. Enough. I care not for their opinions. Let them come before me and speak to— Oh, they would not dare. Not only are you the county princess now, but even if you weren't, you have a protective brother. They are not so foolish as to provoke you. Shen Luan chuckled. Then that settles it. I shall ignore their chatter. My engagement to Xiao Ran was merely a jest between elders, and the Shen and Xiao families have not borne any grudges because of it. Let the gossipers say what they will. Qin Shu, relieved to see Shen Luan so candid, exhaled. I knew our Luan was open-minded. Very well, I shall refrain from mentioning him in the future. She then shifted the conversation. Luan, have you written back to my brother yet? For a fleeting moment, Shen Luan's expression froze. Qin Shu's eyes widened. You have? Haven't you? I can tell by your face. Where is it? Hurry and bring it to me. We have several letters to send today. That is not? I just jotted down a few thoughts. Perhaps it's best left unsent. How can you say that? Qin Shu exclaimed, her excitement bubbling over. If my brother receives your letter, he will undoubtedly be overjoyed. For those fighting at the borders, what is most vital? A good state of mind. You must believe me. I come from a martial family. I understand these matters better than you. When my brother sees your letter, his spirits will soar, and with a buoyant heart, he will become a formidable warrior. Trust me. Shun Luan was skeptical, but she pondered. What if Qin Shu's words held some truth? If her reply could indeed have even a slight impact, she would be delighted to see it. Unable to resist Qin Shu's relentless persuasion, she produced the letter she had written, tossing it to Qin Shu as if it were a hot potato. Qin Shu, understanding the gravity of the moment, beamed with joy, carefully tucking it into her bosom. Rest assured, I shall not peek. Listen. I merely scribbled a few lines. You must read it over quickly. There is nothing of substance within. Qin Shu giggled and evaded her. No, I shan't look. This is for your second brother. I shall not reveal its contents. Shun Luan looked skyward, feeling as if she had pinned something scandalous after sending off the reply. Shun Luan felt a weight lift from her shoulders and dismissed the matter from her mind. With the county princess's commotion subsiding, she found herself less scrutinized, allowing her to relax and attend to her affairs. Yet, bearing the title of county princess, Shun Luan soon discovered that regardless of her actions, particularly beyond the confines of her residence, she would inevitably encounter peculiar situations. County Princess of Lecheng, I am Wu's second son. Encountering you today is truly a stroke of fortune. Might I invite you for a cup of tea? Shun Luan regarded the gentleman before her, clad in luxurious brocade, a fan in hand, and a fine jade crown atop his head, adorned with a string of exquisite ornaments at his waist. Individually, each piece was impressive, but collectively, it was rather ostentatious. Wu Xiaoyi. I have some pressing matters to attend to. Not at all, not at all. I would never presume to delay your affairs, County Princess. I merely wish to know when you might be free for tea. My admiration for you is as boundless as the flowing river. Shun Luan thought, who is this man, so openly effusive in his flattery? At that moment, a tall figure approached, causing Wu Xiaoyi to appear somewhat diminutive in stature. Shun Luan's eyes lit up. Xiao Ran exuded an imposing presence. As he approached Wu Xiaoyi, the latter instinctively took a step back. I have some matters to discuss with the county princess. May I have a moment? Shun Luan instantly nodded, leaving Wu Xiaoyi looking perplexed, having been told that she had urgent matters. However, he dared not intervene, recognizing Xiao Ran's esteemed status in Yin City and his favor with the emperor, which was far removed from the county princess's mere title. Consequently, Wu Xiaoyi could only watch as they departed, contemplatively stroking his chin. The county princess of Lecheng is indeed a beauty. Who could have said that the third daughter of the Shen family was dull-witted? Truly, they must be blind if fate allows. I would not mind a connection with her in this life. As Shun Luan and Xiao Ran distanced themselves, they found a secluded spot to sit. Thank you, Xiao Ran. Otherwise, I would not have so easily extricated myself. Shun Luan expressed her gratitude, rubbing her temples. Ordinary folk take a few words and gracefully take their leave. It is these sorts of individuals that trouble me. I do not wish to constantly find myself in such predicaments. Previously, Shun Luan had encountered similar situations, and they often escalated into uncomfortable encounters. Xiao Ran's expression turned serious. Do you often find yourself in such situations? Not too frequently, perhaps 3 or 5 times now and then. Shun Luan smiled nonchalantly, perhaps because my sudden elevation to the status of a county princess was merely a source of amusement for everyone. As time passes and this matter fades, they will gradually come to understand that there is little to be curious about. It is only natural for Shun Luan to comprehend the allure of novelty. However, when approached by those who insist on striking up conversations, she finds it rather bothersome. Xiao Ran's gaze was steady, but a peculiar discomfort stirred within him. If their engagement had still been intact, might such encounters have been avoided? I am sincerely sorry. Shun Luan looked up at him, puzzled as to why he was apologizing out of the blue. Xiao Ran's expression bore a weight of seriousness. He had received a letter from his father, revealing the circumstances surrounding the dissolution of their engagement. His mother had always held reservations about the match, but he had not anticipated that she would act so ruthlessly. And it was no wonder the Shin family felt aggrieved. Previously, Xiao Ran's father had reprimanded him in a family letter. He had assumed his father was merely upset over the marriage arrangement, but he later realized that it was his mother's harsh actions that had undoubtedly harmed the goodwill between both families. I should have visited to apologize sooner, but I was always preoccupied. And today, I fortuitously encountered the young lady. A look of guilt crossed Xiao Ran's face, which made Shen Luan feel a twinge of compassion. There is no need for you to mention this matter any further. Lord Xiao, it is all in the past. What relevance does it have to you? We, the younger generation, are innocent. You need not bear the burden of guilt. What a remarkably upright individual, Shen Luan mused inwardly. Her perception of Xiao Ran transformed entirely. Look at him, so kind and principled. She was fortunate that he had not been led astray. Shen Luan, while feeling relieved, added, I have yet to congratulate you on your promotion. Lord Xiao, this achievement, too, is largely due to your good fortune. Xiao Ran regarded her with utmost seriousness, saying, I owe much of this to your prior advice, which heightened my vigilance and allowed me to achieve success. That fragrant sachet you gifted me proved to be remarkably effective. No, I cannot claim any credit. Even if I had not mentioned it, you would have undoubtedly succeeded, Lord Xiao. Shen Luan dared not take credit. In her previous life, Xiao Ran had relied solely on himself, and this time, it was her concern over Qiao Jin's potential mischief that prompted her casual warning. To her surprise, Xiao Ran fixed his gaze upon her, affirming, it truly is your merit, and I am immensely grateful. I simply do not know how to repay your kindness. Shen Luan chuckled, finding it hard to believe that such a simple and agreeable person could possess the potential to make waves in the world. Chapter 142. Go ahead and try well. If you truly feel that way, then treat me to a meal. Shen Luan, not one to be overly dramatic, made the suggestion with a smile. Xiao Ran paused for a moment before readily agreeing. Please inform my mother, he said. As Shen Luan glanced at the time. Realizing it was still early, she needed to make a quick stop at the shop. Xiao Ran gently offered, I have no official duties today. I will accompany you. Once your business is settled, we can go for a meal. That sounds good. They arrived at the shop, where Shen Luan managed affairs while Xiao Ran quietly stood by her side throughout. Being in such close proximity to Shen Luan, every word she spoke, every expression that crossed her face, and every movement she made completely captivated him. The more he learned about her, the more he found her irresistible. The initial astonishment he felt paled in comparison. She was open-minded, intelligent, calm, and kind-hearted, her eyes reflecting both innocence and profound steadiness. This contradictory charm rendered Xiao Ran unable to divert his attention. Yet, they were no longer connected. And every time he thought about it, regret washed over him. Why had he resisted and rejected her before they even met? It could only be said that he had not matured enough, thus missing a golden opportunity. But perhaps it was not too late. A serious determination began to crystallize in Xiao Ran's gaze. Shen Luan was still unmarried, which meant he still had a chance. This time, he would ensure that the Shen family felt his sincerity and that Shen Luan willingly turned her gaze toward him. I apologize for keeping you waiting. It must have been rather dull. Shen Luan approached him with a smile after finishing her tasks, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, her expression tinged with apology. Xiao Ran shook his head. It was quite interesting. Have you finished everything? Yes, all set. Shall we go? As they exited the shop, just outside the door, someone nearly collided with Shen Luan. Xiao Ran swiftly raised his arm to steady the individual. Shen Luan stepped aside and looked up, stunned to see Qiao Jin. Qiao Jin immediately began to apologize profusely, only to then seem to recognize her. Miss Shen? What a coincidence. Are you here to shop? We shan't disturb you. Shen Luan smiled with her eyes crinkling, observing Qiao Jin's complexion, which suggested he had not been faring too well lately. His eyes were darkened, and a hint of malice flickered within them. It appeared that the third prince had not treated him particularly well. Upon seeing Qiao Jin, Xiao Ran's demeanor shifted to one of steely intensity. He remembered this person and his ill intentions toward Shen Luan. Qiao Jin had anticipated Shen Luan's visit to the shop today, hoping to orchestrate a chance encounter, but he was taken aback to find her in the company of Xiao Ran. His composure began to unravel. Had they not severed their engagement already? Miss Shen? Allow me to congratulate you on your new title of County Princess. Shen Yu is quite pleased for you at home, though she is unable to visit, hence has no opportunity to convey her congratulations in person. Qiao Jin's gaze flitted over Shen Luan, desperately attempting to mask his covetousness. It seemed that this incarnation of Shen Luan was even more alluring than the last. She appeared to radiate light, her every glance akin to a hook, and her newfound status made her all the more unattainable, dazzling in her brilliance. Shen Luan replied with a smile, Is that so? Has fourth sister been thinking of me so much? I am rather flattered. I recall that fourth sister's previous demeanor toward me was rather different. It seems that people change after getting married. Qiao Jin's eyes flickered. Indeed, Shen Luan had become remarkably perceptive. However, if such a person were still infatuated with him, the experience would undoubtedly be even more exhilarating. Where is the sibling rivalry between sisters? I too hope that you can reconcile. After all, we are family. Before Qiao Jin could finish, Xiao Ran interjected, "We should be on our way. The reservation has been made. Arriving early will ensure a quieter atmosphere." Shen Luan nodded, offering a slight bow to Qiao Jin before walking alongside Xiao Ran. Behind them, Qiao Jin narrowed his eyes, his previously hidden emotions now laid bare. Suddenly, for reasons unknown, Xiao Ran turned back, locking eyes with Qiao Jin, who was caught off guard and unable to conceal his feelings. Xiao Ran's gaze was sharp and filled with warning before he turned away once more. A cold sweat broke out on Qiao Jin's back, his fists clenched tightly. What does he mean by that? What right does he have to walk alongside Shen Luan? That position is mine. Mine. Qiao Jin's eyes burned with fury. He had thought that with Qin Gu absent from Yin City, his path would be clear. Yet here emerged another contender in Xiao Ran. Just you wait. The restaurant Xiao Ran had chosen was the finest in Yin City. Not the most renowned, but rather one that possessed a unique charm. Apart from the central dining area, the upper two levels housed exquisite private rooms separated by plant screens, each boasting a distinctive and appealing design. This establishment was famed throughout Yin City for its elegance. Especially suitable for dining with someone special, it was indeed a rare find. Yet, Xiao Ran had managed to secure a reservation. This was Shen Luan's first visit to such a place, and everything seemed novel and intriguing to her. It truly is beautiful. When Shu Shu described it to me before, I thought she might have been exaggerating. Xiao Ran casually inquired, "Miss Qin, is she the younger sister of the Marquis of Guangyang?" "Indeed, I am friends with Qin Shu, and we often spend time together." Xiao Ran recalled Qin Gu, realizing that Shen Luan had also formed a close bond with him, suggesting that the Marquis of Guangyang's household had been quite attentive to Shen Luan. Suddenly, Shen Luan chuckled, recalling how Qin Shu had once tricked the ninth prince into bringing her here, only to boast about it later with pride. "However, I heard that securing a reservation here is quite difficult. Lord Xiao must have quite the influence." Shen Luan teased amiably, her eyes sparkling with mirth. Xiao Ran smiled. It was merely a coincidence. There just happened to be an available spot. In truth, it was not as simple as that. Xiao Ran rarely leveraged his reputation for anything, and it was a rare occasion indeed that he had done so to secure a reservation. The beautiful and comfortable surroundings put one at ease, and soon, the staff presented an array of delectable dishes, each dish artfully prepared and delicious. With no disturbances around them, Shen Luan enjoyed the meal immensely. Although Xiao Ran appeared cold and serious, he proved to be quite approachable once one became familiar with him. No matter what Shen Luan said, he would respond thoughtfully, listening attentively. He was a delightful companion. Sated and content, Shen Luan thanked Xiao Ran as he escorted her to the gate of the Shen residence. "Thank you very much for your hospitality today, Lord Xiao." She smiled as she bid him farewell. Xiao Ran watched her enter the estate, but as he turned away, the warmth in his eyes vanished. Shen Wenxiao stood not far behind him, an expression of fatigue on his face, yet his eyes were sharp and clear, like arrows. "If I am not mistaken, the young lady who just entered appears to be my sister?" Shen Wenxiao's countenance bore a hint of weariness, but his gaze was penetrating and astute. Xiao Ran greeted him softly. "I happened upon Miss Shen today in the street, grateful for her previous assistance. I invited her to a meal and just returned her home." Shen Wenxiao's cold gaze swept over him several times, and she spoke with a hint of disdain. Does the Xiao family believe that merely breaking off the engagement once is insufficient for their satisfaction? "I did not intend that. My feelings for Miss Shan-san. I have no interest in your intentions, nor do they concern me," Shen Wenxiao interrupted directly. The Shen family has comprehended the Xiao family's stance entirely. Their restraint does not imply that we lack temper. A faint, mocking curve formed at the corners of his mouth. "Aluan may be carefree and unconcerned, but I am not. Hence, I hope that from this day forth, Lord Xiao will endeavor to minimize his appearances before Aluan." Xiao Ran pressed his lips tightly together, a heaviness settling in his heart as the ease of his prior interactions with Shen Luan gradually dissipated. Shen Wenxiao was not jesting. Xiao Ran could keenly perceive the hostility directed at him. "Cannot do that. I will not harm Miss Shan-san, and I will find a way to resolve matters with my mother." The Xiao family has indeed acted inappropriately, and for that, I am truly sorry. Shen Wenxiao regarded him quietly, his eyes narrowing slightly. Xiao Ran did not flinch. The two remained in a standoff for a moment before Shen Wenxiao brushed past him, the chill of his garments trailing behind. Then do try, Shen Wenxiao remarked as he walked away, prompting Xiao Ran to clench his fists tightly. He will. Shen Luan returned to her courtyard, sitting on a chair and reflecting. How could it be so coincidental that she encountered Chao Jin? Clearly, he had approached her with ulterior motives. Was he still unrepentant? That seemed accurate. Shen Luan recalled that in her previous life, at this time, Chao Jin had already risen 3 ranks and begun to gain recognition in Yin City, and now, he was nowhere to be found. How could someone like him be content, especially after experiencing a smooth sailing life? Every day must be a struggle for him now, right? The mere thought of Chao Jin's frustration and suffering brought a smile to Shen Luan's face. Thus, he would undoubtedly wish to return to the trajectory of his previous life. Given that she had not yet married, it was only natural for him to set his sights on her. She was curious how he would scheme this time around, but regardless, she would not allow him to succeed. Qin Ge would still require a year to return. By the time he regained his footing, Chao Jin would undoubtedly find himself at a loss. Therefore, he would strive to solidify the third prince's position before Qin Ji's return. His options, however, were limited. Shan Luan vaguely recalled that after this hunting expedition, the 9th prince began to emerge prominently, with some ministers quietly shifting their support toward him. When Qin Gu later returned and became close to the 9th prince, many would suddenly realize that the 9th prince could rival the 3rd prince. It was then that Shen Luan frequently heard from Chao Jin about the emperor's intention to establish the 9th prince as the crown prince. If Chao Jin wished to prevent such occurrences, the most direct approach would be to win over those ministers who might lean toward the 9th prince. Shen Luan's musings were on point. At this moment, a list lay before the 3rd prince. Chao Jin wore a faint smile. Your Highness, this is merely a portion. Should these individuals become useful to you, they will undoubtedly prove advantageous in the future. Chapter 143. Do not be so fierce. Yuan Shan glanced at the list and furrowed his brow. Among these individuals, there are some I have encountered, yet none seem particularly useful. Your Highness is mistaken. Although these individuals may appear inconspicuous now, it is essential to consider where they can be applied. Chao Jin responded confidently, having experienced firsthand the trouble these individuals could cause for him and the 3rd prince when in the hands of the 9th prince and Qin Ge. However, Yuan Shan remained unconvinced. How much insight could a mere editor possess? It was surprising enough that he knew the names of so many. Yuan Shan placed the list back on the table, casually diverting his gaze. More than these, I wish to know what else you can foresee. The sudden appearance of poisonous insects during the previous hunt struck me as peculiar. It certainly seems orchestrated. Chao Jin's expression stiffened, feeling a sense of resentment toward the 3rd prince's paranoia. He was suspicious at the wrong moments. Why dwell on the trivial matter of poisonous insects when the critical list lay before them? Your Highness, I truly cannot elaborate much on this matter, but I only have knowledge of the poisonous insects incident. Beyond that, do you take me for a fool? You claim loyalty to me, and I am willing to grant you this opportunity. Yet it must be measured by your sincerity. Now, you refuse to divulge anything, bringing me this list instead. Chao Jin, that is not how one pledges loyalty. Chao Jin grew anxious. Your Highness, I am entirely acting with your best interests at heart. If you do not seek to win over these individuals today, they may fall into the hands of others, and it will be too late for regrets. What trouble could they possibly stir? Who do you refer to as others? Yuan Ling. Yuan Shen chuckled lightly. Father indeed favors him. He is the offspring of concubine Zhan, thus receiving preferential treatment since childhood. However, although my mother has passed, she is now under the care of the Empress Dowager. What does Yuan Ling possess to compare with me? Of course, he has discernment. Chao Jin nearly shouted, just by virtue of the 9th prince's ability to identify talent and garner the support of someone like Qin Gu. Combined with the emperor's favor, I fear the 3rd prince would not emerge unscathed. Had the 9th prince not looked down upon him in his previous life, I would have switched sides long ago. Your Highness, the 9th prince is not as naive as he appears. He may be secretly amassing power, and you must remain vigilant. It is only natural for the emperor to feel affection for concubine Zhan. Yuan Shan waved his hand dismissively, revealing a mysterious smile. What do you understand? Father indeed dotes on concubine Zhen, but Her status is not as straightforward as others perceive. I harbor no concerns. Your Highness, even if concubine Jean entered the palace under dubious circumstances, has the Emperor's singular affection over the years been a facade? Yuan Shan suddenly froze, his gaze fixed intently on Chao Jin. What do you know? How could you be aware of concubine Jean's matters? Chao Jin's expression was one of dismay. I would not dare to deceive your Highness. I have indeed heard rumors that the noble consort did not enter the palace willingly and was once married. Yet, that is not what matters. The crucial point is, has the Emperor ever cared? The Emperor's affection for the noble consort has never waned. The 9th prince is his child with her. Do you not worry at all? Where did you hear such rumors? Chao Jin inhaled deeply, swallowing back the words he nearly shouted in frustration. Did the 3rd prince's mind have gaps? Could he not focus on the essential matters? Was the royal secret or gossip the point of interest here? No one dared to mention this matter. How could a mere attendant know? Was there someone else behind him? Your Highness, please see clearly. I am loyal only to you. That I learned of this matter inadvertently. Yuan Shan narrowed his eyes, scrutinizing him for a while before allowing him to leave. Chao Jin felt a headache coming on. He sensed the 3rd prince's distrust. More than the list, he was concerned about the source of his information. But could he disclose it? If he did, he might be dismissed as irrational. He could only hope that the 3rd prince would suddenly come to his senses and regard that list with the seriousness it deserved. Recently, Shen Luan had been particularly hesitant to disturb Shan Wanshao. Not just her. No one in the Shen family dared to approach Shan Wanshao lightly, all aware of his busyness and the significance of his endeavors. Thus, even the Jin family merely arranged for someone to prepare supplements for Shan Wanshao, knowing his health must be prioritized. Shen Luan need not check on his daily calligraphy practice, yet writing had become her habit. Not writing for a day left her feeling uneasy. On the 2nd day, after meeting Xiao Ran, she took advantage of the pleasant morning weather to write at her desk for a while. Just as she set down her brush, she heard Xian enter to announce that Shan Wanshao requested her presence. Did brother not go to the Hanlin Academy today? I heard he does not need to go today. Shen Luan no longer felt intimidated by Shen Wanshao. Without a second thought, she went over with ease. Brother. Upon entering the room, she saw Shen Wanshao seated there, so she naturally took a seat beside him. Did you call for me? What is it? Rarely did Shen Wanshao have only a cup of clear tea before him instead of a towering stack of books. Upon seeing Shen Luan, he gestured for her to pour herself a cup. It is nothing urgent. I found some time today, and remember that I haven't checked your writing in a while. Write a few characters for me to see. All right. Shen Luan thought it was simple. She had not missed a day and had no fear. Standing at the writing desk, she picked up her brush and wrote. After finishing, she admired her work, feeling quite pleased with how it turned out. Brother, come see. Shen Luan proudly presented her work to Shen Wanshao, eagerly awaiting his praise. Shen Wanshao glanced at it a few times, smoothly pointing out her deficiencies, indicating several areas for improvement, which left Shen Luan questioning her own abilities. Is my writing truly that poor? Do you believe it is excellent? Shen Luan instinctively shook her head. No, then I shall practice again. Practice here. I can observe. Shen Wanshao sat leisurely in his chair, and although a sliver of doubt arose within Shen Luan, she thought little of it and began practicing in earnest. However, gradually, she sensed something was amiss. Each character that I have penned is scrutinized by Shen Wanshao, who manages to pinpoint numerous errors, each time differing from the last, leaving her utterly unable to refute. After writing for approximately an hour, Shen Luan began to feel that this was untenable. Brother, are you in a foul mood today? Shen Wanshao glanced up at her. Do I appear to be in a foul mood? You appear exactly so. Shen Luan promptly set down her pen and obediently took a seat before Shen Wanshao. I haven't done anything wrong lately. I've managed the household affairs quite well, and even grandmother has praised me. I haven't been bullied during social gatherings. Even if you are in a bad mood, it surely can't be because of me. Right? Shen Wanshao remained silent, her gaze fixed on her, which made Shen Luan's heart race. Could it truly be me? What have I done? Shen Luan felt wronged. She had been quite well behaved recently. Shen Wanshao allowed her a moment of confusion before slowly speaking. Yesterday, did you encounter Xiao Ran? Shen Luan nodded. Yes, we happened to meet. He expressed his gratitude for the sachet I gifted him and treated me to a meal. What possessed you to give him a sachet? Isn't it excessive? Everyone in the family has one. I gave several to Shu Shu, and since he was going to join the hunting expedition, I I thought it prudent to offer him one as it wards off insects. Shen Luan saw nothing amiss. Xiao Ran was not difficult to get along with, and there was nothing wrong with a mere gift among friends. Surely you are aware of how your engagement with him was called off? Yes, he mentioned it, saying he would visit grandmother to apologize when he had the chance. And so, you have forgiven him? Are you considering rekindling your relationship? Shen Luan's mouth fell open in surprise. Brother, what are you saying? Shen Wanchao looked at her coolly. Is it not so? Of course not. We are merely friends. Shen Luan rolled her eyes at Shen Wanchao. I have no designs on Xiao Ran. I simply find him quite agreeable and easy to be with. What do you mean by rekindling? For someone who excels in studies, you certainly lack finesse in your choice of words. Shen Wanchao, he has already expressed himself quite circumspectly, while you may not harbor any intentions. What of Xiao Ran? I doubt he sees you solely as a friend. Shen Luan became addicted to rolling her eyes. So, brother, while your studies are commendable, you really do overthink things. What is his status now? The Jinyue and concurrently overseeing the inspection court, his reputation in Yinqing is hardly inferior to yours. He never regarded me highly before. What could he possibly think now? The more she pondered, the more she found Shen Wanchao juvenile. Brother, what nonsense are you imagining? Shen Wanchao felt a vain throb on her forehead. Was her sister truly this naive? Do you not realize that others do not share your blindness? Brother, please speak kindly. There is no need to be so fierce. It frightens me. Shen Wanchao. Shen Luan chuckled. I am being sincere. There is nothing between Xiao Ran and me, nor will there ever be if I'll be frank. He is investigating the circumstances surrounding my parents' demise, and I merely requested that he inform me should he make any discoveries. The sachet was simply a token of gratitude. Upon finishing, Shen Luan solemnly warned him. You absolutely must not breathe a word of this. I have not even told my mother. Shen Wanchao regarded her with suspicion. Are you being truthful? More genuine than pearls. When have I ever deceived you? After a moment of silence, Shen Wanchao nonchalantly remarked, You are aware of how Xiao Ran's mother feels about you. I simply do not wish for you to forsake your dignity and pride for a man. Should you truly become involved with him, your future may not be as pleasant. What are you insinuating? Do you think me so foolish? Shen Luan noticed Shen Wanchao nodding seriously. Indeed, Shen Luan, I must seek out a true brother. You cannot possibly be him. Chapter 144. Nothing more than this at this moment. Duke Guangyang was at a loss for Qinggu. Where could he be, my lord? The young master has dispatched a team to pursue him. Nonsense. Does he not know that pursuing a desperate foe is folly? Hurry and bring him back. The deputy commander appeared hesitant. Given the young master's capabilities, I fear that even if we pursue now, we shall not catch up. Qin Zheng was panting heavily, and the deputy commander quickly reassured him. There is no need for anger, my lord. The young master understands discretion and knows when to act. The soldiers have no lack of respect for him during these days in Beiping. His actions must be based on careful consideration. What care does he have? Duke Guangyang slammed his palm on the table. His agitation particularly pronounced these past few days. Has a letter from Yinqing arrived? Yes. Who has written? From the madam and the young master, as well as Miss Qin. Additionally, there is one from the 9th Prince himself. Qin Zhang lowered his gaze to the ground, already suspecting the contents, undoubtedly a letter from the 9th Prince that had stirred Qin Ji's impatience. How many times must I tell him? The royal family is full of strife. I have urged him to keep his distance, yet he never listens. Does my Qin family lack the honor of illustrious ancestors? What we lack is tranquility, a stability that will not invite the royal family's scrutiny. Qin Zhang sighed heavily. Qinggu was his pride and joy, a brilliant son that made him swell with pride. Yet he feared that Qin Ji's arrogance and talent would not lead the Qin family to accolades, but rather place a blade over their heads, poised to fall at any moment. They had quarreled countless times over this matter. All he wished was for Qinggu to inherit the title of Duke Guangyang steadily, to secure the family's future. Why could he not? When he returns, have him come see me immediately. Qinggu returned victoriously, basking in the admiration and awe of his fellow soldiers as he approached Qin Zheng. Their encounters rarely bore pleasantness, and as expected, Qin Zheng erupted in fury. I am aware that you are disinclined to heed my counsel, but here, I am the commander. You have taken the liberty of leading troops without my permission and must face military punishment. Qinggu did not blink, striding out without a word to accept his punishment. Before the assembled troops, Qinggu, despite achieving merit, was subjected to penalties, drawing sympathy from many soldiers who increasingly shifted their allegiance from Duke Guangyang to Qin Gu. Back in the military tent, Xiao Wu, with a grim expression, tended to Qin Ji's injuries. "Young master, why must you do this?" A few words of plea to the Duke might have swayed him. What good is your him now? The beating is already done. Why were you so eager to chase him down? Even if you hadn't, he pursued. They were nearing their end. Now, after expending energy, you still face punishment. Does that not please you? Qin Gu lay on the bed, not betraying an ounce of pain. Indeed, it pleases me. Xiao Wu, is your head addled? Fetch the letter. I want to read it again. Xiao Wu rolled his eyes. Which one? The one from the ninth prince? Qin Gu shot him a glance, prompting Xiao Wu to hurriedly bring over the letter written by Shen Luan, illuminating the candlelight with care. Qin Gu cautiously unfolded the letter. This was the first reply he had received from Shen Luan. Scrawled chaotically were various trivial matters. Each word danced upon his heart, igniting a desire to leap into the letter and meet her. Each character pieced together a vibrant and lively Shen Luan. The letter from Qin Shu detailed why Shen Luan had been granted the title of county princess, a revelation that drove Qin Gu to long for a return to Yanqing. To see this remarkable woman with his own eyes, how could she be so enchanting? He feared that in his absence, she might be snatched away. Qin Gu read the letter earnestly, losing count of how many times he had done so, his lips curling upwards in response to its contents, leaving Xiao Wu speechless. Miss Shan's letter is far more effective than medicine. Shen Yu's days were filled with discontent, feeling as though she had become useless in Chao Jin's eyes. Shen Luan had long ceased to trust her. Her words held no weight, and she questioned, "Is this what you meant when you said you could help me? What could you possibly offer?" Chao Jin grew increasingly impatient with Shen Yu, particularly as the twisted scar on her face darkened her expression, affecting her mood adversely. Once, Shen Luan bore a similar scar, yet she evoked sympathy and a sense of tragic beauty. Shen Yu narrowed her eyes, ominously stating, "What do you mean? I am no longer of use to you. But remember, Chao Jin, you once schemed against Shen Luan. I know this all too well. Do you not think you can cast me aside? Or I will reveal everything to her, allowing you to do as you please but never achieve your desires." A glimmer of malice flickered in Chao Jin's eyes. This woman was more troublesome than he had anticipated. Once entangled, if her wishes were unfulfilled, she would become a shadow that could not be shaken off. Initially, he had thought to exploit her once more, but now that Shen Luan had lost faith in her, she had outlived her usefulness. Besides, as long as she occupied the position of his wife, how could Shen Luan ever notice him? Chao Jin smiled faintly. "What are you thinking? As husband and wife, it would be unwise to let such words cause discord between us. I merely harbor a sense of regret. I once envisioned marrying Shen Luan, allowing you two sisters to be together, yet it appears that such a dream may not be easily realized." As he spoke, he produced a small ornate box. "I chanced upon this today in the market and thought it would suit you beautifully. Take a look and see if it pleases you." Shen Yu, with a hint of skepticism, accepted the box and opened it to reveal a delicate yellow hairpin, exquisitely crafted and lifelike, clearly of fine quality. "I asked this for me?" she inquired. Chao Jin smiled warmly. "Who else could it be for? Aside from you, do I have anyone else to gift?" He took the hairpin from Shen Yu's hands and gently placed it in her hair, adjusting it patiently several times until he wore a satisfied smile. "But fret not, for soon these difficult days will pass, and I shall compensate you for the hardships you endure today." As Shen Yu gazed into Chao Jin's face, the gentle smile upon it was particularly captivating, causing her heart to waver. Perhaps it was time to accept her fate. She was already his wife, destined to rely on him for her existence. Perhaps by lowering her guard, she might discover that Chao Jin was indeed a worthy partner. He tenderly enveloped her in his embrace, and Shen Yu, unusually compliant, rested against him like a soft, vulnerable rabbit, shedding its defenses. Chao Jin caressed her hair, a broad smile gradually forming on his lips. "You see, women are quite simple, a little kindness, and they will yield to your every desire, obedient and compliant. Shen Yu is no different, nor is Shen Luan, for one day she too shall nestle in my arms, softly calling me her husband and entrusting me with all she has." Chao Jin's heart raced, his grip around Shen Yu's arm tightening, a surge of excitement coursing through him. It was as if the woman in his arms was that radiant, exquisite being, elevated beyond reach. Though the day was not yet over, Chao Jian lifted Xin Yu into his arms, striding toward the bed. Since attaining the title of county princess, Shen Luan's invitations had notably escalated in prestige. Invitations to once unattainable banquets now arrived one after another, with many illustrious guests among them. While others viewed this as a splendid opportunity, it only served to deepen Shen Luan's reluctance. It was a dilemma. She could not refuse to attend. Yet going felt utterly devoid of meaning. Leaning against Jean Shi, she murmured, "Now I truly understand my mother's sentiments. Dealing with many people is exceptionally troublesome. Their words twist and turn endlessly before one can grasp their meaning. Don't they tire of such banter?" Jean Shi chuckled, wrapping her arm around Shen Luan's shoulder. "The higher one's status, the more they relish such convolutions, as if it reflects their intellect. I am, however, quite indifferent to it. But it would be beneficial for you to experience this. You are still young, and who knows what kind of people you may encounter in the future. Familiarity with the world will prepare you for anything." Shen Luan meant to voice her grievances, yet she knew she must attend. As a county princess, she held a title of distinction, albeit more nominal than real, yet it was bestowed by the emperor himself, lending it a certain weight. Outside, she had grown accustomed to receiving bows of respect, and she was gradually learning to maintain a dignified demeanor, balancing grace and humility without compromising her status or appearing pretentious, a task that proved quite taxing. Fortunately, she adapted well enough. At least now, the people of Yin City recognized her as the county princess. "County Princess Leching, please, this way." Supported by Xian, Shen Luan followed the attendant's guidance into a courtyard where the banquet had yet to commence. With guests gathered, engaging in conversation, Shen Luan surveyed the surroundings, noting the lack of familiar faces. She stood quietly to the side, her presence neither cold nor dull despite the absence of conversation. "Miss, these pastries look delightful. Do try them if you like them. I shall attempt to replicate them when we return." Xian had developed a keen interest in various confections. Anything Shen Luan found enjoyable outside, she would endeavor to recreate with remarkable accuracy. Shen Luan smiled, sampling each one, passing a piece of her favorites to Xian. "With your talent, Xian, you could easily open a pastry shop and thrive." Xian, munching on her treat, protested, "I have no desire for that. I simply want to follow you, wherever you go." "Very well, then I shall find you a suitable match nearby, so you may see me whenever you wish." "Miss," Xian exclaimed in alarm. Shen Luan laughed heartily, playfully pinching her cheek, warm and lively. In her previous life, Xian had perished a year after Shen Luan's marriage to Chao Jin, leaving her without a confidant in the Chao household. Chao Jian had always insisted that Xian's death was an accident, no one's intention, yet 2 years later, Shen Luan inadvertently discovered that Xian had been drowned in the Lotus Pond, sacrificed for her protection by the wrath of the Chao matriarch. When Shen Luan learned the truth, her own precarious position in the Chao family left her powerless to seek justice for Xian. Chao Jin had remarked, "She's just a servant. If I wanted another, I could have as many as I please. After all, she is my mother. Should I demand she pay for a servant's life?" Shen Luan had been rendered speechless, but what of Xian? Was her death to be in vain? "Miss, what troubles you?" Xian noticed the sorrow in Shen Luan's eyes. Her concern evident. Shen Luan shook her head, forcing a smile. "I merely recalled an odious person. Is there someone you truly despise?" "Indeed, one I loathe deeply, foolish and cowardly, causing nothing but misfortune to those around them, ultimately meeting a dismal fate themselves. They are utterly deserving of it." Xian gasped. "Miss, when have you ever spoken thus? Who could she possibly be referring to?" "County Princess Licheng, the Grand Princess wishes to see you. Please follow me." An attendant from the princess's residence approached, drawing the attention of several nearby guests. Once Shen Luan followed, they began to whisper, "The Grand Princess has never favored unfamiliar faces. I have yet to be summoned alone myself. This Miss Shen certainly has considerable influence. Do you believe this is necessarily a good thing? The Grand Princess is known for her unpredictable temperament. Who knows why she wishes to see her? Still, it is no ordinary feat to capture the Grand Princess's attention. It is rare for a woman of her status to maintain composure. No wonder the Emperor holds the Shen family in high regard, acknowledging their capable offspring. Prior to her arrival, Shen Luan had indeed inquired about the Grand Princess, aware that she was not known for her amiability. This Grand Princess, favored by the late Emperor and granted permission to establish a residence in Yin City, had been coddled since childhood. The current emperor continued to show her favor, so her strong disposition could be understood. She spared no pleasantries for those she disliked and never hesitated to disregard complex relationships for her own comfort. Receiving an invitation from her was an honor. If one did not receive it, there was no need to force the issue. As Shun Luan pondered the possible reasons for the Grand Princess's desire to meet. She reached the entrance, still unable to ascertain the cause, and thus resolved to proceed. The Grand Princess awaits within. Please, County Princess. Steeling herself, Shun Luan stepped inside. The atmosphere within the Grand Princess's chamber was bustling. Several women engaged in conversation, quieting upon Shun Luan's entrance, their inquisitive gazes resting on her. Shun Luan performed a respectful bow, remaining kneeling until the Grand Princess bade her rise, her eyes downcast as she discreetly surveyed the room. Seated at the head was the Grand Princess, adorned in resplendent attire, her jeweled hairpins glimmering as she moved. Though her visage bore the marks of age, it remained fair and delicate, with time leaving only faint traces. Lift your head so I may see you. Upon her command, Shun Luan complied, and the Grand Princess examined her, smiling. Indeed, a striking beauty. No wonder the rumors abound that County Princess Licheng possesses a countenance that could topple kingdoms. Shun Luan humbly lowered her gaze. This humble girl does not deserve such praise, Your Highness. You ought to accept compliments. Beauty naturally invites admiration. The reason I summoned you today is that I found your gift delightful. The jade bodhisattva you sent was unlike any I had seen before. From where did you procure it? This inquiry sparked Shun Luan's interest. Having spent her days by Jin Shi's side, managing several shops and listening intently to the merchants' tales, she had become quite adept at conversing with others. With a gentle smile, she recounted the origins of the jade bodhisattva, then spoke of the breathtaking landscapes beyond the borders, where people held beliefs distinct from theirs, yet remained devout. The cliffs were adorned with dozens of caves, where monks devoted themselves to prayer. Each morning, it appeared as if a radiant light illuminated the cliffs, captivating all who beheld it, becoming a local marvel. The Grand Princess listened, captivated. Is there truly such a place? Indeed, when I first heard the news, I could scarcely believe it. Yet, a heart imbued with sincerity can always draw the attention of the divine. Offering protection to our world, as time passes, one inevitably develops beliefs and finds solace in them. The Grand Princess may be indifferent to many matters, yet she is profoundly enchanted by the act of reverence. Shun Luan has inquired about this, which is why her words resonate so deeply with the Grand Princess. If such a sacred place truly exists, I would indeed wish to behold it with my own eyes. Making my existence worthwhile, the Grand Princess had servants bring a stool for Shun Luan to sit upon, her gaze softening considerably. The accompanying ladies discreetly concealed their astonishment, to win the favor of the Grand Princess so swiftly. This Miss Shun is truly remarkable. With Shun Luan present, the atmosphere is far from awkward. Her knowledge surpasses that of typical women in the inner chambers, effortlessly engaging in captivating conversation, and before they knew it, time slipped away. It was only when a servant reminded the Grand Princess that it was time to dine that she came to herself. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today, though it feels incomplete. In the future, when you have the time, do come and share more with me. Would you be willing? Shun Luan smiled lightly in response. It would be my honor. The Grand Princess appreciated Shun Luan's unpretentious nature and promptly arranged for her to sit beside her. Eliciting envy from many onlookers, Shun Luan remained composed, fully aware that today she was intentionally seeking the Grand Princess's favor. This Grand Princess holds significant power and is quite influential before the Emperor. Over the years in Yin City, she has gathered a loyal cadre of capable individuals. In her past life, Chao Jin had long coveted such talents, but he could never obtain them, nor did the third prince seem to succeed. If she could draw closer to the Grand Princess, might it prove advantageous in the future? Anything that could discomfort the third prince and Chao Jin brought Shun Luan great satisfaction. The dining hall was filled with the ladies of the court, and after the meal, they engaged in small talk. Suddenly, a messenger announced the arrival of the third prince with congratulatory gifts for the Grand Princess. She responded with a nonchalant tone, inviting him in, prompting a shift in the expressions of the unmarried young women present. Though Shun Luan harbored disdain, she understood their thoughts. The third prince was indeed a figure of great allure, and should he ascend to the throne, his consorts would surely soar to prominence. Clad in striking attire, he could easily be described as a jade tree in the wind. As Shen Luan stood amidst the crowd, her gaze remained icy. To her, the third prince could only be described as an empty shell. I pay my respects to my esteemed aunt and wish her joy each year and every day, he proclaimed. The third prince presented a statue of a bodhisattva as a gift. Crafted from white jade, though its design was rather ordinary. Shen Luan secretly reveled in this folly, thinking, "Fool, you deserve it." As expected, the grand princess exhibited little reaction, merely casting a glance before instructing it to be put away, saying, "Your intentions are noted." The third prince had long been attentive to Shen Luan. She was too striking to overlook. It seemed that the more he thought of her, the more she attracted attention. As if all light converged upon her. The harder something is to attain, the more it incites desire. Yuan Shun perceived Shen Luan as more intriguing than any other woman he had encountered. The grand princess displayed little enthusiasm for the princes. She had once borne a child, who tragically passed in infancy, leaving her heartbroken and her affections directed elsewhere. Although the gathering was lively, it was enriched by several new yet familiar faces. Shen Luan felt a stir within her as she heard the third prince call her name, drawing the collective gaze of the assembly upon her. I had previously met Princess Leching within the palace, yet had no opportunity to converse at length. I would like to discuss the supplies for Beiping, which my father has entrusted to me. I am eager to hear the princess's perspective on this matter. Shen Luan maintained a humble demeanor, expressing, "I fear my limited experience may not be of assistance to His Highness. Princess Leching is far too modest. Even the emperor praises your discernment and kindness. Were it not for these qualities, you would not have received such commendation. I wonder if you would be willing to assist me in providing for the soldiers stationed at the border?" In the presence of all, could Shen Luan possibly refuse? The Grand Princess interjected, stating, "Since it is a matter of national benefit, Miss Shen, you need not decline." Shen Luan could only brace herself and acquiesce, agreeing to discuss the matter further with the third prince. The Grand Princess's residence exudes opulence and elegance, with each corner resembling a painting. The third prince wished to lead Shen Luan deeper into the estate, but she feigned fatigue, suggesting, "This spot is quite agreeable. The space is open and refreshing. Let us converse here." Her tone was polite yet resolute. This was the Grand Princess's domain, and the third prince would not dare impose upon her. Yuan Shun sensed her caution and chuckled, "I shall heed your wishes. Everything shall be at Miss Shan's discretion." Shen Luan covertly shivered, aware that his approach would not succeed with her. Yet Yuan Shun feigned enthusiasm. Fully aware of his charms, his gentle and composed demeanor, especially his captivating eyes, had ensnared the hearts of many women within the estate. That moment, he gazed at Shen Luan with eyes as gentle as flowing water. Filled with emotion, noting her reluctance to meet his gaze, which filled him with a sense of pride. Indeed, no one could escape his allure. Little did he know that Shen Luan refrained from looking at him for fear of bursting into laughter. Chapter 146. The pursuit of fairness. Earlier encounters with Miss Shun had always left him captivated by her lively intelligence. Such clarity and wit are rare among women. Shen Luan dismissed his lavish praise and got straight to the point. "Your Highness, what is it you wish to discuss?" The soldiers stationed at the border endure harsh conditions, and while the court continuously allocates funds, they often fall short due to various reasons. These soldiers protect the peace of our realm with their very lives, and I merely hope for their fair treatment. "That is only natural," the third prince replied casually, his thoughts clearly elsewhere. How could Miss Shun have considered such matters? It is not easy for a sheltered young lady to pay attention to these affairs. Shen Luan regarded him curiously. "Is it so difficult?" "It is merely a matter of empathy. Have you never pondered these issues, Your Highness?" "How could I not? I am merely surprised," he replied. "The soldiers at the border sacrifice for the stability of our realm. As a prince, I must empathize with their plight." Yuan Shun spoke with a sense of righteousness, yet internally, he held a different sentiment. From birth, there exists a hierarchy. Who can blame those unfortunate souls? Should one be born into royalty, they naturally enjoy a life of luxury. I plan to send a shipment of supplies to Beiping under your name, Miss Shen. What do you think? He assumed she would not refuse, given her evident concern for the border situation. However, without a moment's hesitation, Shen Luan shook her head. "Your Highness's kindness is acknowledged, yet I feel undeserving of such generosity. I will continue to contribute in my humble way." though it may be insignificant. It is my heartfelt intention. I cannot accept credit for efforts I do not expend. Nonsense, this matter arose because of you. How could you not take part? I feel unworthy, thus I cannot. Shan Luan's gaze was resolute. Although the third prince's actions would benefit many, she dared to accept the gratitude of the common folk on their behalf, despite her modest standing. She rose slightly, feeling that there was no need to prolong the conversation with the third prince, as they had already exhausted the topic. Miss Shun, do you not sense that I regard you differently? Yuan Shan's eyes glimmered with interest. Are you truly unaware, or is it a pretense? I do not comprehend what your highness means. You understand. I have witnessed such tactics before, but yours is particularly well executed. I have developed feelings for you, and you have not noticed? Shen Luan was taken aback, left speechless for an extended moment. Was the third prince truly so intent on winning her brother's favor? I am but a delicate flower. Your highness need not jest, Miss Shun. It appears you have a significant misunderstanding of yourself. Surely, you are not so shocked by my words? Shen Luan nodded vigorously. I am indeed surprised, though I dare not show it out of respect for your highness. Yuan Shan found her even more intriguing. Despite his declaration, she maintained her composure, neither flustered nor overly pleased, confirming his discerning eye. Then, Miss Shen, would you be willing to marry me as a consort? I will ensure you receive the same treatment as the primary consort. When I achieve success, you shall wear the phoenix crown and stand above the masses. His tone was laced with seduction, his gaze imbued with longing, as if he were a lovesick man weaving an elaborate web of affection. Yet Shen Luan felt the urge to laugh, finding it quite the chore to suppress her amusement, though not jest. My very existence serves to thwart your ambitions, does it not? She sighed softly. Your highness's affections are most generous. But I fear I am unworthy. I have lost my parents at a young age, and now wish only to enjoy the company of my elders for a few more years. Yuan Shan's expression shifted slightly. Had she truly rejected him? He had approached her with sincerity, yet she had turned him down. You do not wish for this? Shen Luan smiled gently. Your highness forgets. I have previously stated, even before the emperor, that I seek only one who will treat me sincerely. If I recall correctly, your highness already has a primary consort and secondary consorts. A heart can only belong to one. Having shared yours with others, how could you devote yourself wholly to me? Her eyes shimmered with a hint of regret, as if she believed his highness could not truly comprehend her nature. I am rather avaricious, and I abhor the notion of compromising my dignity for the sake of harmony. The man I wish to marry must place only me in his heart, and in return, I shall offer him my whole being. Thus, it would be equitable. Shen Luan's eyes sparkled with an inexplicable ambition that stirred the hearts of those who beheld her. The young lady excused herself, turning away with a smile that faded, considering it a waste of time. What else could she have done with that time? Perhaps it could have endeared the crown princess to her even more. But instead, it was squandered here. Upon her return, she would certainly report to her brother. Yuan Shan watched her retreating figure, suddenly amused. Fairness? What fairness exists in this world? It is merely a matter of the victor claiming the spoils. She has declined now, but does she truly believe she can evade my grasp? The emperor has promised her favor, but once I ascend to the throne, that favor will vanish, even if she marries. I can still summon her to the palace, just as the emperor did with consort Zhen. I hope she does not come to regret her choice. Shan Luan strode back, fuming, resolved to keep her distance from the third prince. Who had dared to displease Miss Shun? She halted, her face brightening again as she spotted his highness, the ninth prince. I heard that my aunt invited you to her birthday celebration, but I just checked and did not see you. What a coincidence that we meet now. Yuan Ling, with a twinkle in his eye, approached. Who was it that Miss Shun encountered, looking so furious? Tell me, and I shall avenge you. Did you come to me for some peculiar matter? Your highness? Oh, it is this. I encountered your brother recently and spoke with him about a few matters, but I have been unable to find him since. Several esteemed individuals wish to gather with him. He casually mentioned a few names, stirring something within Shen Luan. She recognized those names. Yuan Ling grumbled about how bothersome these individuals were, despite being a prince, always urging him. His expression was one of clear annoyance. After careful consideration, Shen Luan replied, I have heard of these esteemed individuals as well. They are indeed capable individuals. Your highness might consider exercising a bit more patience treating the worthy with respect. You may find yourself grateful for their support in the future. Yuan Ling's eyes flickered with innocence as he regarded her. Does Miss Shun truly believe so? Then I shall heed your advice. Shen Luan thought to herself, what a naive little darling he is. Yet, if he truly listens to her, it would be a stroke of good fortune. If she recalled correctly, these individuals would eventually rally behind the ninth prince, serving as a counterbalance to the third prince. He must not miss this opportunity. I shall convey this to my brother upon my return. Rest assured, Your Highness. Yuan Ling waved her off with casual elegance and departed. Shen Luan soon returned to the Shun residence from the crown princess's estate. A few days later, seizing the first opportunity, she sought out Shen Wanxiao. Brother, have you been particularly busy of late? Shen Wanxiao looked up. Is there something amiss? Shen Luan hastily recounted the matters concerning the ninth prince. But Shen Wanxiao remained unmoved. You need not concern yourself with these affairs. The Shen family currently teeters on the brink of uncertainty. We must act with utmost caution. The decisions made in the court are of paramount importance. Shen Luan bit her lip. Brother, you are not considering the third prince, are you? I find him rather unworthy. Shen Wanxiao chuckled. Then what wise insights do you possess? I have no brilliant observations, but at the crown princess's residence. He approached me, professing his desire to take me as a concubine, as if it were the greatest favor. It infuriated me. Shen Luan did not notice the fleeting darkness in Shen Wanxiao's eyes as she vehemently complained. Am I to accept such a position? A concubine is merely a secondary wife. I must certainly decline. Yet, his implication was that I was ungrateful. What of being a prince? Should I simply cling to him? Shen Luan felt unable to confide in Jin Shi about these matters, yet she found it easy to speak freely before Shen Wanxiao. Brother, I think his character is rather lacking, yet would my outright rejection seem inappropriate? Might he seek retribution against our family? Shen Luan gazed up at him, her eyes brimming with concern, a thought that had only emerged after her visit to the crown princess's estate. Shen Wanxiao snorted softly. That would indeed be rather unfortunate. What should I do? To decline? In such matters, a direct refusal suffices. There is no need for excessive delicacy. Shen Wanxiao lowered his gaze. In the future, should he ever bring such matters to you again, you need not hold back. Even if others learn of it, I can assist you in extricating yourself. As a prince, should he dare to toy with a young lady, I can ensure he faces dire consequences. Brother, how formidable you are. Shen Luan's eyes sparkled with admiration, a wave of security washing over her. Then I shall fear nothing. She chuckled, having broached the subject, and departed with a light heart. Shen Wanxiao watched her skip out of the courtyard, his expression darkening. Has the third prince truly set his sights on Shen Luan? Such a willful character, once he achieves success, will undoubtedly seek retribution. What then for the Shen family, and what for Shen Luan? The ninth prince, perhaps? Shen Wanxiao's meticulously manicured fingers tapped rhythmically on the table, producing a series of soft sounds. Beneath the calm surface of Yin City, turbulent currents surged. Chao Jian once again stood before Yuan Shun, a radiant smile gracing his face as he placed a memorial before him. What is this? Chao Jian replied with a smile. Your Highness. Your attempts to win over Shen Wanxiao have repeatedly failed. Now, as Shen Wanxiao's reputation grows daily, he is increasingly favored. This individual warrants your caution. Yuan Shan extended his hand, taking the memorial, and slowly opened it. As he read, a peculiar expression crossed his face. Chao Jian did not interrupt him, allowing him to read in peace. Yuan Shan closed the memorial, a layer of perplexity clouding his features. How did you come by this information? Are you certain it will be effective? In response, Chao Jian assured him, Your Highness, I am confident. Shen Wanxiao is a cautious individual who rarely leaves behind incriminating evidence. However, he is also quite proud and prefers to operate independently. Thus, should any issue arise, he alone will bear the consequences, sparing others from entanglement and preventing unnecessary troubles for Your Highness. Chapter 147. Proving your sincerity. How can you be so certain that this will lead to complications in Shen Wanxiao's affairs? Chao Jian merely smiled, remaining silent. Of course, it is drawn from his previous life's experiences. He can certainly create obstacles for the current Shen Wanxiao, especially if the third prince is willing to cooperate. It would be even more foolproof. With the Duke of Guangyang absent from Yin City, the Shen family faces adversity without any avenues for assistance. Shen Wanxiao has yet to form an alliance with the ninth prince, whose foundation is also unstable and unlikely to intervene. Your Highness, this is an excellent opportunity. Keeping Shen Wanshao around will only serve as a stumbling block for you in the future. Why should you show leniency towards someone so ungrateful? Chao Jin's smile turned sinister. Once the Shen family falls, what does it matter if Shen Luan is a county princess? When the walls come crashing down, I can reappear and seek the third prince's favor. And it will be easily attained. He did not realize that Yuan Shan harbored similar thoughts. Should the Shen family face hardship, if only he could assist her, would Shen Luan turn to him for help? Both harbored ulterior motives, their expressions oddly mirroring one another. Yuan Shan narrowed his eyes, tucking the memorial away. If this matter proceeds smoothly, I shall credit you for it. Thank you, Your Highness. Since his success in the imperial examinations, Shen Wanshao has gained widespread acclaim. He possesses genuine talent and knowledge, and although his demeanor can be overly aloof at times, he is not without admirers, especially after receiving praise directly from the emperor on multiple occasions. This singular honor has allowed him to thrive in the Hanlin Academy, where none dare to belittle him for his youth. After years of hard study, Shen Wanshao finally found his calling, spending most of his time immersed in the Hanlin Academy, tirelessly adapting to his duties. The tasks entrusted to him have been executed exceptionally well, making him one of the most notable young talents in Yin City. Jin Shi felt a mix of joy and concern regarding this. Your brother is admirable in every way, yet he is far too cold. How many wives have come to me complaining? He treats young ladies with such indifference, like an iceberg. Does he intend to offend every suitable maiden in Yin City? Shen Luan comforted her. Brother simply has that nature. I am still his sister, and I am often scolded for being foolish. He is mistaken. Elwan is the cleverest of all. Shen Luan leaned against Jin Shi's shoulder. Laughing with abandon, Jin Shi sighed, observing his rising success in the officialdom, yet his prospects for marriage appeared increasingly bleak. I now feel embarrassed to socialize. Everyone inquires about Wanxiao's marriage prospects, and I have no idea what to say. I cannot say anything at all. Jin Shi felt utterly stifled, as she truly dared not make decisions regarding this matter. It troubled her greatly. There is no need for you to worry, mother. My brother will achieve great things in the future. Who knows, perhaps he will even marry a princess. Besides, we need not rush. We can simply wait. Shen Luan recalled that Shen Wanshao had not married by the time of her demise in her previous life, and she was quite curious about her future sister-in-law. If only my brother could invest a fraction of the attention he gives to his duties into this matter, I would not need to be anxious. Jane Shi sighed again, just as a young maid approached to announce that Shen Yuenda had arrived. Jane Shi exchanged glances with Shen Luan. What could he possibly want? The elder master seems quite anxious. He requested your immediate presence. Let us go and see. Shen Luan accompanied the Jin matriarch to meet Shen Yuenda, who was indeed brimming with agitation. Has Wanshao not returned yet? He has truly landed himself in trouble this time. The moment I received the news, I hurried over to inform you, so you might be prepared. Jin's expression shifted immediately. What did this mean? Shen Yuenda explained. A task previously entrusted to Shen Wanshao has been completed. Yet in these past few days, someone has suddenly reported him for employing improper methods that resulted in loss of life, and he has brazenly concealed this, believing no one would know. Now, this matter has escalated to the authorities. This is impossible. My brother is not that kind of person. This is no longer a question of possibility. There are witnesses, right there in the magistrate's office, who have explicitly pointed to Wanshao's actions. He is young and impetuous, and his recent successes have likely drawn the ire of many, which could lead to severe consequences. Jin staggered slightly, and Shen Luan quickly supported her to sit down. Mother, do not panic. Once brother returns, we will ascertain the truth. I believe in his character. Shen Yuenda furrowed his brow. I too trust in Wanshao's disposition, but if he has done nothing wrong, then someone must be scheming against him. This complicates matters further. With so many people in Yin City, we have no leads. Shen Luan's expression darkened. No, there are leads. In my previous life, I never heard of brother encountering such an issue, so it cannot have arisen without reason. Unless someone foresaw his future accomplishments and aimed to undermine him early. Chao Jin's backing is the third prince. If this is orchestrated, it undoubtedly relates to him. You all must think of a way. I will seek further information. It would be best if Wanshao can return. He is astute and may devise a solution. However, I fear, Shen Yuenda did not finish, hurriedly leaving to gather more intelligence. Jin's face was ashen, while Shen Luan still managed to maintain her composure. Mother, should we inform grandmother? If Wen Xiao cannot return, we cannot conceal it any longer. I will speak with her, regardless of the circumstances. Grandmother is related to Chang Xin-ho and may be able to assist. Alas, Shen Wen Xiao truly did not return. The news Shen Yuanda received indicated that due to the broad implications and severe nature of the incident, Shen Wen Xiao had been detained to prevent his escape. Shen Luan was so anxious that her lips burned. Brother is a scholar. How can he withstand the tribulations of imprisonment? She and Jean attempted to negotiate, but were informed it was not permissible, as the third prince had instructed that no members of the Shen family were to see Shen Wen Xiao. Why is this happening? Wen Xiao is frail. If anything happens to him, Shen Luan's breath quickened. What is there left to understand? The third prince is not concealing his involvement. He must be waiting for me. Mother, you should return home. I have somewhere to go. With a solemn expression, Shen Luan made her way directly to the third prince's residence. As if anticipating her arrival, the guards at the entrance greeted her warmly. His Highness has been expecting Miss Shun-san. Shen Luan scoffed coldly as she was led into the side hall, where Yuan Shun sat impeccably attired, his smile as gentle as a spring breeze upon seeing her. Why do you seem to be sweating? Did you hurry here? Fetch Miss Shun-san a bowl of chilled cherry soup, he instructed. Shen Luan was about to speak, but Yuan Shun shook his head and gestured to a chair. Please, sit first. I do not favor hasty conversations, particularly with those I hold dear. The atmosphere must be right for me to truly listen. Shen Luan was seething with suppressed anger, and his pretentious demeanor made her want to lash out. Once seated, Yuan Shan personally poured her a cup of tea. Miss Shan, you came in quite a rush. Have you come to a realization? Is my brother's predicament related to your highness? You ask that. Yuan Shan smirked, acknowledging, this matter does indeed concern me. Someone has presented a memorial to me, accusing your brother of certain actions. While I admire his talents, I cannot condone wrongdoing, hence I ordered a thorough investigation. Do not blame me, Miss Shun. I am merely fulfilling my duty, and this has been reported to the Emperor. Given its gravity, I hope you understand. Yuan Shan spoke with an air of righteousness, and observing Shen Luan's calm demeanor, he felt increasingly pleased with himself. Rest assured, Miss Shun, I will uphold justice. If your brother is indeed innocent, I shall ensure he is vindicated. Shen Luan felt an overwhelming urge to tear off Yuan Shan's hypocritical facade. Yet with the Emperor already informed, her current anxiety would yield no results. I understand. However, my brother is but a scholar. I fear for his suffering in prison. Might your highness facilitate the delivery of provisions from home? Yuan Shan's gaze held a profound meaning as it roamed over her face. Of course, I do not wish to deny Miss Shun's request. However, you know I am in a difficult position, as a prince. I should not show favoritism, yet if it is a request from someone close to me, I might make an exception. His smile made Shen Luan feel nauseated. Suddenly, she stood up. Indeed, it is I who has troubled your highness. Your integrity is commendable, and I should not impose upon you. With a cold expression, she bowed to Yuan Shun and left without a backward glance. Yuan Shan's expression soured instantly. No one had ever dared to disregard him in such a manner. If you leave today, it will not be so easy to return next time. Shen Luan ignored the threatening voice behind her, her steps unwavering as she exited the third prince's residence. One cannot succumb to weakness. If one allows it once, it will happen repeatedly. Her brother, so proud, would never accept knowing what she had done for him. Standing outside the third prince's residence, Shen Luan gazed at the street ahead, momentarily lost. What could she do? Chao Jin was using the third prince against her brother, and her past experiences had become his advantage. What about her? Shen Luan bit her lip resolutely and decided to head to the Guangyang Marquis residence. Alwan. Upon seeing Shen Luan, Qin Shu rushed forward, her face filled with concern as she grasped her hand. I have heard the news. Third brother is out there gathering information. Do not worry. Your brother will be fine. Shen Luan did not have the luxury of time to fret. Shu, can you help me meet the ninth prince? You wish to see Yuan Ling? That can be arranged. I will have someone deliver the message. Qin Shu did not even question the reason, promptly sending someone to take care of it. Shen Luan felt a sense of relief wash over her. Having a friend like Qin Shu in both lives was her greatest fortune. After Qin Shu completed her instructions, she brought hot tea to Shen Luan, urging her to have a sip. Third brother mentioned this matter is quite peculiar. The evidence is particularly irrefutable. What are the odds of such a coincidence? Moreover, there was no movement when the task was completed, and now suddenly it arises. Who knows what else is at play? I went to see the third prince. Shen Luan's voice was low. This matter is in his hands. He previously sought to court my brother, yet now he does not even allow visits. What? Qin Shu's eyes widened. She was not naive and quickly lowered her voice. Of this matter, I am uncertain. But although my brother's demeanor is cold, he would never commit an act contrary to morality. I refuse to believe he is guilty of these accusations. Then what do you intend to ask Yuan Ling to do? He lacks any substantial power. Perhaps you should seek out Xiao Ran. He should be able to assist. Shen Luan shook her head. Father and mother's case has already caused enough trouble for Xiao Ran. In my mind, he and the third prince cannot stand opposed. Even the ninth prince, though I have met him a few times, he seems like a naive boy. I do not know if seeking him will be of any use. But I must try. While waiting for news at the Guangyang Marquis residence, Shen Luan felt it would not be easy to meet the ninth prince. To her astonishment, the ninth prince actually disguised himself and came to see her. Am I not perceptive? What brings you here? Shen Luan stared in disbelief at Yuan Ling, who was playfully grinning beside Qin Shu, clad in guard attire. He appeared entirely at ease. Qin Shu shot him a disapproving glare. Can you not act with a sense of propriety befitting a prince? What are you wearing? Is it not stylish? I think it looks quite good and makes me seem quite formidable enough. Qin Shu pushed him slightly. Alwan has business with you, so be a little more amiable. She turned and adopted a gentler tone. Alwan, I will wait outside. Do not rush. Take your time. Qin Shu stepped out, leaving Shen Luan alone with Yuan Ling. Shen Luan was taken aback by their camaraderie. She had not anticipated Qin Shu to be so close to the ninth prince. Miss Shin-san, Yuan Ling beamed as he took a seat. You sought me? It is truly my honor. Shen Luan still perceived nothing but innocence in his eyes. She could not fathom how he had become a formidable rival to the third prince. Your Highness, have you heard of my brother's predicament? Yes, I have heard. It is quite astonishing, certainly a significant matter in Yin City. Then, can your Highness assist in clearing my brother's name? Yuan Ling's beautiful eyes studied Shen Luan intently, and she met his gaze unwaveringly, allowing him to scrutinize her. The room was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. Shen Luan was engaged in a gamble, betting that this seemingly naive young man was more astute than he appeared, wagering on the significance of the Shen family in his heart. After a considerable pause, Yuan Ling's large eyes curved into crescents, pondering why the third young lady of the Shen family believed in his capabilities. I do not know. Perhaps it is a desperate attempt to seek a remedy, as I cannot think of anyone else who could restore my brother's honor from the hands of the third prince. Shen Luan offered a bitter smile, realizing that while the Shen family seemed to have stood firm in Yin City for years, they were, in truth, on the brink of collapse. Her brother's foundation was shaky, and with the current turmoil, many were merely spectators, few willing to lend a hand. If the ninth prince were to offer assistance, the Shen family would be eternally grateful. The expression on the ninth prince's face appeared subtly different from before. Yet she could not pinpoint how he did not pursue the matter further, but rested his chin on his hand, observing her with curiosity. Do you share a close relationship with Master Shen? He is my brother. Shen Luan found his question bewildering. How could their bond be anything but good? Indeed, the relationship between siblings was naturally strong. Yuan Ling sighed softly, seemingly lost in thought. I shall do my utmost. Ah? Yuan Ling regarded her. Did you not wish for my assistance for your brother? However, my father has entrusted this matter to my third elder brother, so I cannot guarantee the outcome, but at the very least, I can alleviate some of your brother's suffering. His willingness to help left Shen Luan in disbelief. Your Highness, are you truly willing? You have no ties to the Shen family. Why? Perhaps I feel a certain affinity towards you. It is rare for someone to seek my aid during their troubles. I shall do my best. Yuan Ling flashed her a brilliant smile, reverting to his harmless and charming demeanor, devoid of any aggression. As Shen Luan departed from the Guangyang Marquis' residence, she remained somewhat dazed. She had expected the ninth prince to seek some assurances before agreeing to assist, perhaps the loyalty of the Shen family. Yet he had mentioned nothing and had simply acquiesced. Shen Luan found it perplexing. Was the ninth prince genuinely benevolent, or was he waiting for the Shen family to offer their allegiance? In the following days, the atmosphere in the Shen residence grew increasingly dire. The Zhang family sent word to the Changxin Marquis, only to receive a reply stating that he could not intervene in this matter. The third prince regarded this issue with utmost seriousness, intending to set an example and rectify the court's governance, thus making it inaccessible for ordinary individuals. Zhang was in a state of frantic urgency. Yet as the current pillar of the family, she held herself together, relieved that Jean and Shen Luan did not require her excessive concern. Jean spent lavish amounts of silver to curry favor. And while the effects were minimal, there remained a glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, Shen Luan waited for news from the ninth prince. Countless eyes in Yin City were trained on the Shen family, and the Yu family expressed their frustration. Why are you all in such a rush? This will not implicate our family, in my opinion. When Xiao is simply too young and impetuous, seeking to distinguish himself and thus committing a grave error. He ought to learn a lesson. Shan Jian frowned. My second brother is not the kind of person to engage in such actions. There must be a misunderstanding. What misunderstanding? Instead of diligently studying at the Hanlin Academy, you waste time searching for someone. Have you found anyone? Shan Jian lowered his head. He had initially hoped to seek out individuals related to this matter to prove Shun Wenxiao's innocence, but he had not anticipated it to be so challenging. He had no leads whatsoever. Therefore, you should refrain from meddling and focus on your studies. If Shen Wenxiao were to fall into despair, the Shen family would have to rely on you. Mother, my second brother is in trouble. How can I stand idly by? Although I cannot do much, I can at least offer some advice. Ignoring her, Shun Jian's indifference left you astounded, and even Shan Yuandi appeared as restless as an ant on a hot pan, feeling isolated within the family. Despite the Shun residence being desolate, unexpectedly, someone still came to visit. Xiao Ran, it seems he has come to see you. Jian grasped Shen Luan's hand. He can speak on our behalf in Yin City. If he can assist us this time, I shall personally express my gratitude in Ganzhou. Shen Luan comforted her mother and went to meet Xiao Ran. He was already aware of Shun Wenxiao's predicament, and upon seeing Shen Luan's listless demeanor, he felt a pang of discomfort. Regardless of the circumstances, you must take care of yourself. Look at how haggard you appear. If you were to collapse, wouldn't that only add to the chaos for the Shen family? Shen Luan offered a weak smile. I am fine. Why has Master Xiao come to the Shen residence at this time? I inquired about your brother's situation. It is rather complicated. Both the witnesses and evidence are in the hands of the third prince, which makes a conviction seem inevitable. Were it not for your brother's prior reputation, a verdict would likely have been reached already. A sense of dread gripped Shen Luan. What about now? My brother is imprisoned, and we have no means of visitation. We are entirely in the dark regarding his condition. Do not fret. Your brother is a newly minted scholar. The third prince cannot simply condemn him without cause. It would not sit well with the emperor either, and my greatest fear is that your brother's health may falter while enduring imprisonment. Having witnessed such matters before, Xiao Ran understood that if a direct conviction could not be reached, the process would be prolonged. The conditions within the prison were unimaginable to those who had never experienced them. Each day felt like torment, and it was not uncommon for individuals to perish in such circumstances. Perhaps that was the third prince's intent. What are we to do? Shen Luan panicked. My brother is not a martial artist. What if he truly cannot endure it? Xiao Ran fell silent for a moment. If I could assist him. Shen Luan raised her gaze, her helplessness rendering Xiao Ran momentarily speechless. Would that not be taking advantage of his misfortune? Yet, he truly did not wish to miss such an opportunity. Should he align himself with the third prince, the Xiao family would inevitably be drawn in, and a union between the Shen and Xiao families would yield the best outcome. Xiao Ran inhaled deeply, preparing to articulate his thoughts when Jian suddenly rushed in from outside. Luan, we are permitted to visit. Hurry and get ready. We are leaving at once. Shen Luan sprang to her feet. Really? Indeed. The messenger has confirmed it. Without a moment's hesitation, Shen Luan hurriedly exchanged brief farewells with Xiao Ran and quickly assisted Jean in preparing to visit Shen Wenxiao. Xiao Ran watched her retreating figure, clenching his fists. Shen Luan had not anticipated such swift news. The messenger conveyed that it was due to the ninth prince mentioning Shen Wenxiao's previous actions to the emperor, casually referencing his current predicament. The ninth prince held a deep admiration for those of intellect, and thus the emperor had tasked him with assisting the third prince in this case. The ninth prince is indeed a blessing for our Shen family. Without him, we might not have been able to see Wenxiao so smoothly. Jian felt immense gratitude and meticulously packed a large bundle, uncertain if they could deliver it all but resolved to try. Shen Luan lowered her eyes, astonished that the ninth prince had truly aided them, yet she also felt that now was not the right time for him to confront the third prince. Such interference would surely breed suspicion in the latter. This favor from the ninth prince was something the Shun family must remember. Without delay, they proceeded to the location where Shan Wenshao was held. Jean was generous, discreetly slipping a hefty pouch to the guards. Initially unfriendly, the guard softened after receiving the pouch. Please expedite your entry. These are individuals entrusted by the third prince. No errors must occur. Understood. We appreciate your hard work. Shun Luan and Jean hurried inside, and upon seeing Shan Wenshao's condition, Jean was overcome with emotion, tears streaming down her face, rendering her speechless. Shun Luan's mind reeled. How long had it been? Her brother appeared almost emaciated. Shan Wenshao maintained a semblance of composure, his expression still mirroring their usual demeanor. You need not worry. I am managing well here. Shun Luan clenched her teeth, shoving items into his hands. Brother, we are here for you. We cannot visit often, so you must take care of yourself. Hold on. We will find a way. Shun Wenshao smirked slightly. What can you possibly do? Shun Luan forcefully pressed a piece of clothing into his hands. Regardless, I will rescue you. Just wait. A teardrop fell from her eye, landing silently on the dusty ground, leaving no trace behind. Shun Wenshao grasped her wrist. Do not engage in foolishness. If you do, I will be deeply disappointed. I, Shun Wenshao, will not resort to having my sister bargain for my innocence. Do you understand? Shun Luan raised her gaze, her eyes reddened, yet the tears had vanished. Chapter 149. No choice left for her, she managed to offer a reassuring smile. I understand. I am not that foolish. Why should I allow others to have their way? However, I will find alternative solutions. She retrieved a book, handing it to him. This is one you often read. I brought it for you. I do not know when this situation will resolve. Can you endure? Shun Wenshao accepted the book and suddenly smiled. I was just thinking about this, and you have brought it to me. If you can endure, then what do you say? They could not linger for too long. After just a few exchanges, the officials arrived to usher them out. Shun Luan and Jean turned back repeatedly as they exited, while Shun Wenshao stood slender and upright, gripping the railing, watching them leave this dreary place. Shun Luan had rarely cried. She had matured into a young woman, far more cheerful and lively than before. This time, perhaps she had been truly frightened. Shun Wenshao clutched the book tightly, slowly making his way back to the corner to take a seat. He would endure, no matter how arduous the journey. And he would certainly reclaim every penny of his due, with interest, upon encountering Shun Wenshao and confirming that, aside from his emaciation, he had suffered no further harm. Shun Luan felt a temporary sense of relief. However, if it remained impossible to prove the existence of false accusations, Shun Wenshao would be unable to secure his release from prison. Those individuals were in the hands of the third prince. The associates who had previously collaborated with Wenshao were now lost to the tides of fate, their whereabouts unknown, and searching through the vast sea of humanity was akin to fishing for a needle in the ocean. Yet, that search must be undertaken. The Zhang family had issued their decree, and the Shun family would spare no effort in exonerating Shun Wenshao from his unjust plight.